Chapter 1121. The Liu and Wang families are really popular. Zuoxiao duo sighed. According to the time, they had already arrived very early. Who would have thought that they would be the last to arrive among the crowd? That he was really speechless about this. However, with a local gangster like the wandering hero accompanying them, the result was always good. Time passed by slowly. In the blink of an eye, midnight had already passed. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. A series of figures flew over at high speed in the air like big birds. There were 10 people in a row, each of them full of energy and good cultivation. The person in the lead had a square face and was tall and burly. He looked to be about 27 or 28 years old, and there was a hint of anger on his face that could not be erased. After that person arrived, he first bowed in a circle and said loudly, "There are many spectators today. I, Liu Laosi, would like to greet all of you. This battle is to settle an old score with the Wang family from a few years ago. I would like to ask all of you to be a witness." There were people in the shadows, on the rockery, on the big trees, and in the pits. Everyone responded, "You're too kind, Master Liu. Don't worry about it. We've made a bet. Liu Laosi, don't let us lose money. Remember to say hi if you can't win." The Zuoxiao duo was even more dumbfounded. This atmosphere. It's like a concert. Zuoxiaonian was also puzzled. Since those people are going to speak, what's the point of hiding in advance? It's better to just stand there and watch. The wandering hero explained, "If you stand out and show your face, if this matter gets out of hand, some things are better known than seen. If you hide something, you can deny it. Even if things get out of hand, you can still say that you didn't go." "I didn't know that." Zuoxiao duo also felt incredulous. People in the capital really know how to play. I'm really a country bumpkin. At this moment, there was a whistling sound from another direction. In a flash, the people from the Wang family also rushed over. The Wang clan's group also consisted of 10 people, and their leader was the Wang clan's 5th master. Both sides had the same combat strength, with a fairy leading the team and 9 peak returnants, profound realm experts. There were rules for a duel. The 10 of them fought a bloody battle with no regard for life or death. This was the rule of the battle between the aristocratic families in Shangjing. Both sides only sent 10 people. There were 4 people behind the Liu family, but they were just ordinary inner core realm cultivators. There were also 4 people behind the Wang family. They were here to collect the corpses. Their cultivation was relatively weak, and they were not included in the battle prowess. Since they had come to the final battle, they had to be prepared to die here. They had to prepare people to collect their corpses in advance so that they wouldn't all die and have their corpses exposed in the wilderness. Zuoxiaonian looked at the Liu family's 4th son, who seemed to be only 27 or 28 years old. She could not help but sigh and say, "This man from the Liu family is the old principal's 4th brother. The old principal has 99 brothers. Since he is the 4th, he should be at least 200 years old, right? Why does he look so young?" Sigh. Zuoxiao duo was really upset at this moment. She thought of Yuanyue's wrinkled skin and white hair, and then looked at her 4th brother who was so young. God knows how much the old principal has endured. Zuoxiao duo took a deep breath. On the battlefield. Liu Laosi. The Wang clan's 5th master was wearing a royal blue robe. He raised his head and looked at the opposite side with disdain. "Liu Jingyun, are you so impatient to die? The duel. 4 years ago, you didn't get beaten enough?" Liu Laosi said indifferently, "The duel has already been decided. There is no need to say anything more. This duel will determine victory and defeat, as well as life and death. Wang Wu, let's fight." At this moment, there was only blood in his eyes. He looked up at Wang Wu and said indifferently, "Your Wang clan is crazy. You dug up my sister's grave. Today is just the beginning of this debt. Let's settle it bit by bit. Today either you die or I die." The Wang clan's 5th master narrowed his eyes and said indifferently, "Since you are so close to your sister, then I will be merciful today and send you to meet your sister. I will let you and your sister reunite in the netherworld. You won't be lonely in the netherworld. Send you to meet your sister." These words caused Liu Jingyun's eyes to suddenly become filled with rage and grief. Clang. A long saber was unsheathed. He gritted his teeth and said, "Come on." "Why, just the two of us?" The Wang clan's fifth master mocked. "Do you know the rules?" Liu Xingyun laughed loudly. "Who will take the first victory?" Behind him, an old man in his 50s stepped out slowly. "Fourth master, I will take the first round." On the opposite side, a thin middle-aged man in his 40s revealed a cold smile on his face. He also took a step forward. "Fifth master, I will take the first round." Wang Wu gave the same cold smile and waved his hand to stop him, saying, "Liu Xingyun, today, you only brought 10 people?" Liu Xingyun said sarcastically, "Wang Benren, could it be that your Wang clan only brought 20 people?" Wang Benren chuckled and said, "That's all I have to say. Let's begin." Before he finished speaking, the two people who had already appeared rushed up like a whirlwind. Then, they tangled together in a desperate posture. The moment these two people made their move, it was an extreme tactic of fighting speed with their lives on the line. This kind of fighting method was rare even in this kind of place with the title of decisive battle. It was because everyone was old acquaintances. Although Shangjing was big, there were only so many superclans and people in these superclans. In the past, even if they didn't agree with each other and fought, they would often hold back. Even if they really saw blood, they would stop at the last moment and not go too far. It was precisely because of this that they were very familiar with each other's routines. At this moment, the life and death battle was exceptionally fierce. The two people jumped up and down, stirring up the wind and whistling. In the dark night sky, it was as if the gates of hell had opened and thousands of ghosts had come out. Behind Wang Benren, a middle-aged man came out with a sword and sneered, "Opposite Liu clan, come out and die." With a long whistle, a man in black rushed out from behind Liu Xingyun without saying a word and attacked. Another pair. Then, the remaining people of the two clans began to fight each other. New and old grudges were all settled today. Survival of the fittest, survival of the fittest, survival of the fittest. After a while, only Liu Xingyun and Wang Benren were left in the field who hadn't made a move. The 18 of them shouted loudly as they fought fiercely against each other. Both sides understood their positions and had already decided to fight to the death. Even if there were people around watching the battle, both sides didn't care. They only had eyes for each other and the decisive battle. The hero frowned and said, "Zhua, what do you think?" Zhuo Duo frowned at this moment. There was no other reason. It was because in Zhuo's view, the Liu clan now had the overall upper hand, and it was in every pair. But this result, at least logically, should never have happened. The two sides agreed to fight. The Liu clan took the initiative, and the Wang clan accepted the challenge. Both sides' positions were clear and difficult to reconcile. This battle was a fight to the death. Since the Wang clan accepted the challenge, they had a similar understanding of each other's strength. They had considered the combat forces sent out. How could such a one-sided situation occur? Especially when the battle was one-sided, the leader of the Wang clan, Lord Wang Wu, was still smiling. Calm and unhurried? This was outrageous, absolutely unreasonable. Wang Benren said indifferently, "Elvijian, you've really come prepared today. You've actually given each of us a precious treasure like the immortal ascension pill? You're really generous." LV Xingyun said lightly, "To deal with your Wang clan, I don't need to ruin the future of my 9 brothers." He slowly pulled out his sword, and blood appeared in his eyes. He said, "Wang Benren, now only you and I are free. Did you come here just to say some meaningless words? Or are you counting on your eloquence to compete with me?" Wang Benren laughed and slowly pulled out his long sword. The long sword in the scabbard violently rubbed against the scabbard and immediately made a sound like a dragon's roar, shaking the night sky. The sound spread far and wide. He smiled sinisterly. "Elvian, since you can't wait to meet your sister Huang Quan, how can I not fulfill your wish?" He suddenly waved his hand and shouted, "Elvian, today we'll settle the old and new grudges." From his tone, it seemed that he was going to rush up and fight. LV Xingyun roared and leaped into the air, about to use the LV clan's secret sword. The LV clan had always been famous for their secret sword techniques, but this fourth master LV used a sword. He used the sword as a sword and used the sword as a sword. Just as the two sides were about to engage in battle, the curtains to the final battle were about to be drawn. However, at this moment, 10 figures flashed across the sky like lightning, and a loud laughter suddenly rang out. "Lord Wang Wu, please give this battle to our Zhong clan." As he spoke, a long sword flashed and was already at LV Jingyun's neck. LV Yun waved his sword to block and smiled coldly as if he was not surprised. "Zhong Qinghuan, your Zhong clan has come in after all." Zhong Qinghuan pressed his sword and said with a sinister smile, "You sent letters of challenge to both our clans at the same time. LV Jingyun, you're quite bold." LV Jingyun said angrily, "What is your Zhong clan? Is it worth our LV clan to send a letter of challenge?" Zhong Qinghuan said, "LV Jingyun, you sent a letter of challenge and saw that the situation was critical, but you refused to admit it. You're so shameless." As he spoke, he and Wang Benren attacked at the same time. The tide-like attacks pressed LV Jingyun until he couldn't breathe. A loud laugh sounded. "Wang Benren, you sent a letter of challenge to my Wu clan first, but you sent a letter of challenge to the LV clan later. Who dares to challenge you?" The 6 people from the Wu clan who had offended the wandering hero jumped out together and joined the battle without any explanation. The situation of the battle changed again. "Wu Yunhao, the one who sent you a letter of challenge is me, Yin Jipeng. Don't find the wrong opponent." In the shadows, another clan's people rushed out. Almost at the same time, people began to emerge from the tree like dumplings. "Yin Jipeng, you dare to challenge my Lu clan? Watch out for my sword." "LV Jingyun, you dare to challenge my Huangfu clan, but you sneaked here." The battlefield, which was originally only 20 people, suddenly expanded to more than 300 people in the blink of an eye. All the participants were fighting in pairs, fighting to the death. Everyone's eyes were red, but their mouths were constantly shouting words that even they themselves didn't believe. "You sent me a letter of challenge, I'm coming. Since it's a duel, why do you have to invite others? You're too shameless." "LV Jingyun, how many clans did you invite? Didn't you only invite me? My Shen clan didn't do anything to you. Why do you want a duel? Since you want a duel, don't be a coward. Come and fight. It's useless to say more. Let's see who's the real deal." Since it's a duel, it's also a duel of life and death. Not only Zhuo Duo and Zhuo Xiaonian, but the wandering hero was also stunned by this scene. "No wonder my dad always says that I look mischievous, but when it comes to the thickness of my skin, I'm far from qualified. It turns out that it's true. I'm indeed thin-skinned," the little fatty muttered to himself with his eyes wide open. Zhuo Duo and Zhuo Xiaonian felt that their horizons had been broadened today. So this was how the big clans of Shangjing fought? There was no need for any reason or evidence. If they wanted to join the battle, they just had to shout, "Why did you offend me?" Then they could go up. As for the reason, right or wrong, what were those? I've lived long enough to see that justice is in the heart, and right or wrong is determined by strength. Zhuo Duo and Zhuo Xiaonian's hearts were tumbling. The big clans of Shangjing were indeed old clans. They had truly carried out the word strength is king, to the extreme, vividly and incisively. Tonight's battle seemed to be a chaotic one, and it had already become a farce. However, it was still a decisive battle that could kill people. Every clan had prepared something like a letter of challenge early on as evidence. After tomorrow's battle, even if the Imperial Security Bureau came looking for trouble, they could use it face to face. It was someone else who challenged them to a duel. How could they be afraid of a battle? Even if they didn't want to fight, they couldn't lower their clan's reputation. Since it was for the sake of their clan's reputation, the clan would naturally use their strength to smooth things over as for who was right, who was wrong, and who was wronged. Was that important? The little fatty held a jade pendant in his hand. It was a protective jade pendant given to him by his clan. Once his life was in danger, his ancestors' spiritual will would instantly transform into an incarnation to take action. The little fatty chose a rock and covered himself tightly. Suddenly he roared, "Ouch! Someone actually plotted against me. Wang Benren, you're courting death." As he spoke, he ordered, "Come, Quickly take revenge for me. Destroy all these people from the Wang clan. The hidden weapon just now was released by someone from the Wang clan. Otherwise, it would be the Huangfu clan, the Shen clan, the Yin clan, the Zhou clan, or the Zhong clan. In short, these few clans are the biggest suspects. Sneak attacking the future head of the Yu clan means that they are enemies with the Yu clan. We can't let them off easily. Quickly take action and take revenge for me. They actually dared to hit me. They really have guts. Chapter 11:22. The little fatty screamed shrilly. His voice, his expression, and his feeling made those who didn't know better think that he had been ambushed or seriously injured. The Yu family's 4 guards looked at the lively little fatty and their faces instantly darkened. But now that things had come to this, who didn't understand what was going on? Our young clan lord is determined to intervene. If we insist on not intervening, I'm afraid that this guy will rush up by himself. If they wasted a divine sense jade pendant because of such a trivial matter, no matter how the 4 of them planned, the result was a waste of a divine sense jade pendant. What reward or punishment the young clan master would receive would be discussed later. The 4 of them were doomed. How dare you assassinate the young clan master of the Yu clan? Give me your life. The 4 of them raised their arms and flew into the air. They were like 4 giant rocks as they flew into the battlefield. With a few bangs, a few people were sent flying out of the battlefield. But the 4 of them still held back. They only knocked the people unconscious and didn't kill them. As the personal guards of the future clan master of the Yu clan, their strength couldn't be underestimated. If they went all out, not many people present could take them head-on. But even if they didn't kill, it didn't mean that others would be merciful. Zhuo also rushed out and shouted, "How dare you offend us? Wang clan and Zhong clan." As he shouted, the long sword in his hand became sharper. He rushed into the battlefield with extreme speed and cut off the heads of the people who were knocked unconscious. Taking advantage of the situation, a sword chi shot out like a waterfall. Of the 2 Qin family cultivators in the lead, one was cut in half at the waist while the other's head flew into the air. Zhuo didn't stop after his successful attack. He waved his left hand, and little stars that couldn't be seen in the dark night splashed out. It was the starry sky indestructible stone 6-pointed star. But this time, its target was the Astral Souls human clan. Puff puff puffed, more than a dozen people screamed and staggered. In the blink of an eye, 2 rays of light, one white and one black, suddenly rushed out from Zhuo's body. All the damaged souls in the square were swept clean. At the same time, a bone-chilling coldness suddenly rose from the ground, and a layer of white frost quickly spread. Zhuo was like a fairy from the 9th heaven, with endless frost flowing all over her body. She arrived in front of Lv with her spirit-snatching sword pointed forward, nailing it on Wang Benren's sword opposite her. In an instant, a wave of extreme cold rushed in. But at first contact, Wang Benren turned pale with fright. His right hand couldn't hold onto the long sword, and even his elbow was frozen stiff. There was even a wisp of icy coldness that rushed through his meridians and into his heart. As he retreated, he exclaimed, "It's the spiritual thought goddess." There was fear in his voice, but there was also a hint of surprise. Zhuo and Zhuo looked at each other. They both knew what was going on. The other party had set up such a trap and used the opportunity of the Lu family's battle. How could they not set up a trap to deal with the 2 of them? This was something that he had expected. Zhuo sword was not finished, and Zhong Qinghuan, who rushed up to block, was sent flying 8 meters away. Blood spurted out of his mouth, and when he spat on the ground, he had already turned into an icicle. With a flash of sword light, she chased after Wang Benren again. The 2 mystical cultivators of the Wang family desperately tried to snatch it, but they were directly turned into 2 ice sculptures by Zhuo sword. They didn't even stop her for a moment. But a graceful figure passed between the 2, and with a crisp crash, the 2 ice sculptures turned into pink ice chips on the ground. They died without an intact body, and not even bones were left. The 2 souls that had just perished floated out. While the 2 souls were still in a daze and couldn't believe that they had already perished, 2 streaks of light, one white and one black, flashed past like dragons. The two souls completely disappeared, without a trace. Obviously, dying without an intact body and bones was not the end. There was also the destruction of the soul, beyond redemption. The tip of the spirit-snatching sword flashed with cold light, staring at Wang Benren. If Zhuo Xiaoyan wanted to kill him immediately, Wang Benren would have died long ago. However, Zhuo Xiaoyan wanted to use Wang Benren to find the Wang family and kill the people who were helping the Wang family. After all, regardless of whether they were friend or foe, they were all dressed in black. Perhaps they had their own way of distinguishing, but Zhuo Xiaoyan didn't know the details. She was afraid that she would kill the wrong person, so she only chased after Wang Benren. And the people who were helping Wang Benren were definitely enemies. Otherwise, with Wang Benren's strength and cultivation, how could he resist Zhuo Xiaoyan's sword attack? In a flash, two more mystical cultivators of the Wang family barely avoided their opponents and came to help with injuries. Zhuo Xiaoyan chased after them, and the frost sword chi burned again, freezing the two people who came to help into ice sculptures again. The two of them were only at the mystical realm, and they were also injured, so their combat strength was inevitably reduced. Even if they had the heart to risk their lives, how could they resist Zhuo Xiaoyan's frost chi? Zhuo Xiaoyan didn't even bother to summon them. Instead, he simply added a layer of frost to the original foundation. Immediately, the two of them followed in the footsteps of the previous two and turned into ice dust that filled the sky. The cold wave continued to surge, and the frost sword continued to chase after them. On the other side, Zhuo Xiaoduo's killing intent was even stronger. With a flick of her finger, she beheaded the dozen people who were injured by the hexagram of the starry sky indestructible stone. Zhuo Xiaoduo's experience in controlling the situation of a battle was far above Zhuo Xiaoyan's. Zhuo Xiaoyan was afraid of accidentally injuring her own people, so she came up with a strategy of encircling Wang Benren and attacking the reinforcements. It seemed like she was targeting Wang Benren, but in reality, she wanted to use Wang Benren to eliminate all the reinforcements. Zhuo Xiaoduo, on the other hand, planned before making a move. He had already targeted many of the enemies who didn't belong to his side, and killed them with a single strike. He acted really quickly, and his body flashed past like a ghost. Beheading, removing the rings, snatching the weapons, a series of actions were done in one breath, without any hesitation. Ever since the Yu family, Zhuo Xiaoduo, and Zhuo Xiaoyan joined the battle, the situation of the battle changed drastically. The originally chaotic battle turned into an overwhelming advantage for their side. The Wang family, Shen family, Huangfu family, Zhong family, Yin family, and Zhou family were defeated like a landslide and were in imminent danger. On the other hand, although the Yu family, Wu family, Lu family, and Lu family had fewer people, their morale was high, and they were fighting fiercely, suppressing their enemies. With the addition of Zhuo Xiaoduo and Zhuo Xiaoyan, they quickly reduced the other side's fighting strength. Their side, which originally had fewer people, suddenly became a force of numbers. Moreover, it was becoming more and more like they were bullying the weak with numbers. For example, the two who had rushed to Wang Benren's aid but were instantly frozen into ice sculptures. They did not come to Wang Benren's aid after defeating their respective opponents. They had only forced their original opponents to retreat and had paid a considerable price for it. However, not only were their opponents not defeated and not dead, their combat power was basically intact. Naturally, they turned to help their own people. That was to say, the original 2-on-2 immediately turned into a 4-on-2 or even a 2-on-1. Naturally, they had a great advantage and a great advantage. The momentum of victory and defeat was immediately locked in. This situation would only become more and more intense. It wasn't completely one-sided yet, but all of this happened too quickly. Of course, there was also the moments Zhuo Xiaoduo and Zhuo Xiaoyan joined the battle. There was a real factor of death and injury in the battle. When the big families fought, although they had no choice but to help out of consideration for their feelings, they still prioritized not killing people if possible. After all, the protagonists of this battle were the Lu family and the Wang family. The main casualties should be from these two families. Before the outcome of the battle between the two clans was clear, the other clans didn't dare to seriously involve themselves in the battle. They just needed to make their stance clear. The people they sent were basically at the same level as the two clans in the final battle. After all, only the Wang family and the Lu family were fighting to the death. If they really couldn't win, the other families could also step back to protect themselves. This was also the reason why the 4 guards of the Yu family, although their strength was superior, they only injured and didn't kill. One could see this tacit unspoken rule. However, Zhou Xiaoduo and Zhou Xiaoyan didn't care about this. They couldn't wait to make things worse. The more people from the opposing forces died, the better. How could they show mercy? Therefore, Zhou Xiaoduo was the one who beat the drowning dogs the moment they came up. 200 to 300 people had been fighting for a long time, but there wasn't a single casualty. In less than 5 seconds, these two fellows had already killed 20 to 30 people as if they were vegetables. They were either frozen into dregs or had their heads rolling on the ground. The situation was extremely tragic and bloody. In the chaos, even the leader of the Zhong family, Zhong Qinghuan, was frozen by Zhou Xiaoyan. Zhou Xiaoduo saw an opportunity and stabbed his sword into his heart while he was still staggering. A ball of fire exploded. Zhong Qinghuan enjoyed a very short time of ice and fire. His internal organs were burned into charcoal, and his head was kicked into the air by Zhou Xiaoduo. It didn't fall back down for a long time. Revenge for the 3rd young master. The Zhong family members rushed over crazily, but Zhou Xiaoduo didn't care about them. His sword flashed and he shouted, "Watch out for my meteor sword." With a flick of his wrist, another 7 starry sky indestructible stones flew out, knocking down the 5 attackers as soon as they made contact. Then he continued on his way, ignoring all obstacles along the way. Kakakaka. 5 heads rolled on the ground, and all their weapons and rings were gone. 2 flashes of black and white light flashed, and even their souls were gone. That after 2 more slashes, the remaining 2 people were dead. At this point, the Zhong family members who claimed to be here for the battle were all dead. They became the first family to be completely wiped out in this battle. At this moment, everyone, including the Lu family members, didn't expect this young man who suddenly rushed out to be so cruel. He killed people as if they were chickens, and he showed no mercy at all. Seeing the sudden change in the situation, the 2 groups of people couldn't help but be shocked. With a swoosh, they naturally split into 2 sides. On the other side, Zhou Xiaoyan had already forced Wang Benren to a dead end. All the masters of the Wang family who came to stop him had been killed, turned into ice chips, and disappeared into the dust. However, they were a little better than the Zhong family in that Wang Benren was still alive under Zhou Xiaoyan's tactic of deliberately going easy on the enemy and attacking reinforcements. He was barely holding on and running towards them with all his might. Under the extreme cold, Wang Benren's face was covered with a layer of frost. This low-level Skysoar realm expert was always calm no matter the situation. However, at this moment, he was in an extremely sorry state. The strength he was proud of was not worth mentioning in front of Zhou Xiaoyan. All the people who came to stop Zhou Xiaoyan were dead, and the others didn't dare to come over. A murderous intent flashed in Zhou Xiaoyan's eyes as she pointed her sword at Wang Benren's heart. Meteor flash. At this moment, an unforeseen event happened. Chapter 11:23. Clang. A sword suddenly blocked the spirit-snatching sword. Zhou Xiaoyan's delicate body shook and she almost lost her balance. 2 figures appeared out of thin air. One of them stood in front of Wang Benren. With a raise of his hand, a 5-colored light suddenly flashed. It was like a magnificent mountain that suddenly blocked in front of Zhou Xiaoyan and completely blocked Wang Benren behind her. A majestic aura that was as vast as the sky suddenly appeared. Zhou Xiaoyan was so shocked at this moment that he almost couldn't move. Fortunately, she could barely move, but it wasn't that she couldn't move. Zhou Xiao channeled her telekinesis into the spirit-snatching sword. With a roar, the spirit-snatching sword emitted a cold moonlight and a small person suddenly appeared. Ice spirit. The temperature in the surroundings, which was extremely low, dropped sharply again. A bright moon condensed behind Zhou Xiaoyan. In this bright moon, there was a clear figure holding a sword in one hand. It was exactly the same as Zhou Xiaoyan's posture. From the bright moon, the sword light flashed. This was one of the moves that Zhuxiaoyan inherited from the Moon Lord. It was also the only move that she had truly comprehended and could use with ease. I raise my cup to invite the bright moon, and the shadow becomes 3 people. Zhuxiaoyan's sword was as cold as a fairy's. Ice spirit sword, frozen snow sky. In the moonlight, a figure suddenly appeared. It was as graceful as a swan and isolated from the world. 3 different sword intents showed a strong power that complemented each other and led to the same goal. The unprecedentedly strong extreme cold air exploded like a bomb. The person opposite her who showed a mountain-like momentum shouted coldly, "Good swordsmanship." Whether it was the technique, intent, or path, every aspect of this stunning sword was beyond the scope of the opponent's imagination. It was supposed to be unstoppable. Fortunately, the cultivation of the person who made this move was far from enough to match such a transcendent magical sword. This gave the person opposite her a chance to resist and even counterattack. Zhuxiaoyan suddenly saw the colorful light flashing in front of her. It seemed that there were 5 different kinds of weapons at the same time. Each of them showed a myriad of moves and forcefully fought against her 3 swords. At the same time, a hand suddenly reached out from the chaotic sword light and grabbed Zhuxiaoyan in the air, intending to capture her in one move. At the same time, a person on Zhuxiaoyan's side also fell from the sky and hit the cat spirit sword with an extremely heavy stick. Damn I! Even with Zhuxiaoyan's great strength, his wrist felt sore. At the same time, he felt a huge shadow looming over him. In just a moment he seemed to have nowhere to run. It was clear that the other party's cultivation was too high, and he was using his true essence to forcefully seal his movements. Zhuxiaoduo felt as if his body had sunk into a swamp of sticky glue, to the point where he couldn't move at all. Zhuxiaoduo's mind turned and he shouted, "Son." Before he finished his words, he suddenly turned around. Dazzling flames burst out all over his body. Zhu Rong, who had been waiting for a long time, suddenly burst out his genuine fire to the limit. Immediately, he broke through the opponent's momentum and rushed in the direction of Zhuxiaoyan. Although they had only met for a short time, Zhuxiaoduo quickly came to the conclusion that the opponent was too strong. He couldn't fight against such a strong opponent. He had to meet up with Sister Xiaoyan as soon as possible and be ready to escape. If necessary, he had to escape into the space of the Tower of Annihilation. The person who was targeting Zhuxiaoduo saw that the fish in the net had escaped. Just as he was about to give chase, he felt an unprecedented murderous aura, as if it came from ancient times. The tip of Zhuxiaoduo's sword vaguely emitted the murderous aura of a ferocious beast that had been dormant for tens of thousands of years. It was aimed at him. Although Zhuxiaoduo's strength was nothing to be afraid of, the murderous aura was too sharp. It was the kind of extreme sharpness that was invincible throughout the ages and could slaughter living beings like weeds. Under the threat of such murderous aura, the Wang family expert didn't dare to act rashly even though he felt that his cultivation was much higher than his opponent's. Seeing this, Wu Yunhao of the Wu family roared, "Shameless! Shameless to the extreme! Wang family, have you forgotten the rule that Dao integration stage cultivators are not allowed to fight in the capital?" The 2 people on the other side turned a deaf ear to him. Following a muffled boom, Zhuxiaoyan staggered back with a pale face. Her body floated up quietly and rushed towards Zhuxiaoduo like a bolt of lightning. Clearly, she had the same idea as Zhuxiaoduo. At this moment, the sun and the moon converged in the sky, creating a marvelous scene of the sun and the moon shining in the sky. As the 2 people converged and touched each other's palms, the power of yin and yang suddenly converged and instantly neutralized the power that their opponent had to endure. The 2 of them stood side by side in the sky, holding hands. The spirit plunder sword emitted a chilling brilliance. Ice spirit stood gracefully on the spirit plunder sword. An extremely cold aura rapidly condensed and was ready to be launched at any time. A speck of black aura appeared on the spirit cat sword. It was filled with murderous aura. It was the god-slaying spear, Yan Shirsi. Seeing that there was finally a battle, he couldn't wait to show off. Following Ice Spirit's example, he automatically entered the spirit cat sword. Although he was extremely weak right now, Yen Shirsi still displayed an insufferably arrogant confidence in dealing with these fellows. When I was at my peak, I could stare these small fries to death. But now at Humph, a real man doesn't talk about his past achievements. We can talk about the future. Opposite them, the two black-robed people stood side by side with their hands clasped behind their backs. Looking at Zhuo Xiaoduo and Zhuo Xiaoyan in the sky, a hint of admiration flashed across their eyes. One of them said indifferently, "They are indeed peerless geniuses. They live up to their reputation. One yin and one yang, one man and one woman, one heaven and one earth, one day and one month. What a pity, what a pity." Zhuo Xiaoduo and Zhuo Xiaoyan had only exchanged one blow with the newcomers, but they knew that they were no match for these two people. Originally, they had thought about it over and over again. After 9 months of cultivation, their strength had improved again. Even if the other party sent out a Dao integration expert, the two of them would be able to put up a fight if they joined forces. But now, it seemed that they had underestimated the power of a Dao integration expert. Just the aura of the other party, which belonged to a Dao integration expert, was enough to overwhelm them. They almost couldn't bring up the desire to fight, let alone put up a fight. If it weren't for the 9 heavens spirit spring water and the honey of laurel to temper their divine senses, the purity of their divine senses far exceeded that of cultivators of the same level. Otherwise, they would have been captured and killed. A Dao integration expert could actually merge 10,000 Daos and borrow the power of heaven and earth to merge their aura into heaven and earth. Zhuo Xiaoduo and Yen Shirsi had never encountered a battle like the one just now. They didn't even think about it. The difference between Dao integration and heaven ascension was not the difference in strength, but the difference in cultivation level. Zhuo Xiaoduo had never understood the word Dao integration so well. The two black-robed men looked at Zhuo Xiaoduo and Zhuo Xiaoyan with indifference on their faces. They had absolute confidence that as long as they attacked, these two brats wouldn't be able to escape even if they still had some trump cards up their sleeves. It was inevitable that they would be captured. The other person who had targeted Zhuo Xiaoyan earlier said expressionlessly, "It's indeed a pity that such prodigies." At this moment, an even more indifferent and hoarse voice, which concealed a monstrous fury, drifted over. "What's a pity?" This voice contained a vague feeling that it was as if an atomic bomb had been launched and was rumbling to life, preparing to explode in a predetermined area. Everyone present, including the two Dao integration stage super mighty figures, felt their hearts begin to thump uncontrollably. This voice seemed to be mixed with a strange rhythm, and it also seemed like a large hand had firmly grasped their hearts. It was slowly kneading their hearts into the palm of the hand. Pinch, pinch. Everyone turned their heads to look at the same time. They saw a gray-robed elder shrouded in a black aura slowly descending. This person was surrounded by a black aura, and it was as if countless ferocious ghosts were charging left and right within the black aura, whistling back and forth. His eyes were like the wisps as they landed on the two Dao integration experts of the Wang family. They flickered incessantly, and a cruel smile flashed across his face. "You, what's a pity?" Zhuo Xiaoduo immediately cried out in surprise, "Grandpa, someone is bullying me." Although he had been scared half to death by this old man before, things were different now. This call of "Grandpa" was especially pleasantly surprised, especially smooth, and also especially intimate. And this crisp call of "Grandpa" made the gray-robed elder so happy that he almost danced with joy. He was just a hair away from breaking the eerie atmosphere that he had created. He immediately became spirited. "Good boy, with Grandpa here, no one can bully you. Grandpa will help you vent your anger. Grandpa is mighty. If Grandpa didn't come, the two of us would have been taken away. It's said that his family wants to use our blood as a sacrifice to the heavens." Zhuo Xiaoduo complained fiercely while sweet-talking. Sacrifice to the heavens. Lei Changtian was fuming with anger. He glared fiercely at the gray-robed elder, as if he wanted to eat him in one bite. "How dare they?" Zhuo Xiaoyan was shocked. She turned to Zhuo Xiaoduo and asked, "This is Grandpa?" "Yes, he's Grandpa. My biological grandpa." "Is it really Grandpa? Mom's father?" Zhuo Xiaoyan felt like she was dreaming. She couldn't believe it. Our mom said it herself. How can it be fake? Zhuo Duo confirmed. He's really our biological grandpa. Zhuo Xiaonian didn't say anything. She looked at Lei Changtian's back with her bright eyes. She was a little surprised that his hair had become neat and tidy. When it fell down, it was still messy. But now, how did it suddenly become so stylish? Behind him, Lei Zhangtian's heart melted at the constant calls of Grandpa, Dear Grandpa, Dear Grandpa, Dear Grandpa, as well as the questions and answers from his grandson and granddaughter. Although it was a question, wasn't Xiao Duo affirming it over and over again? Good boys, don't move. Let Grandpa teach these two shrimps a lesson. Lei Changtian said in a way that he thought was extremely benevolent. Shrimps. Every single person present was dumbfounded. They were facing two Dao integration stage experts. How could he say shrimps? What would be considered a big fish in his eyes? Would he only be considered a dish when two heavenly kings appeared? Chapter 11:24. The others did not face Lei Changtian directly, so it was still all right. However, the two Dao integration experts who bore the brunt of his attack felt a sense of danger from the bottom of their hearts. It was a feeling of immense and fatal danger. Every time they encountered an undefeatable opponent, this feeling would spontaneously grow. It was real and not fake. Speaking of this intuition, most probably everyone had it, but not everyone wished to encounter such a situation. It was an indescribable and bone-chilling sense of retreat. Fiendish cultivator? You're a fiendish cultivator. One of the Dao integration experts narrowed his eyes and looked at Lei Changtian even more cautiously. He stared at the black qi rising from the other party's body, then at the old man's somewhat weathered but unruly and ferocious appearance. He vaguely felt a sense of familiarity. However, as he had not been on the battlefield for thousands of years, his memory was already somewhat blurry. Moreover, he had never seen the demon ancestor before. He had only seen the demon ancestor fight in the sky from afar. Lei Changtian's current, benevolent appearance was deliberately faked. It was completely different from the demon ancestor's battle form. The difference between heaven and earth was like heaven and earth. However, no matter what, it was imperative to pin a big label on the other party first. So, you're a fiendish cultivator. The Dao integration expert said indifferently, you're just a fiendish cultivator. No matter how powerful you are, how dare you come to our Shangjing city and be so arrogant and despotic? Do you want to die? Lei Changtian laughed strangely. At this moment, he really felt very amused. It seemed that no one had dared to pin a label on him like this for more than 10,000 years. This brat from the Wang family was really bold. Even if Zhuo Changchang and Yu Xingchen were here, they would definitely not dare to say that he was a fiendish cultivator. You're quite bold, aren't you? However, he did not know whether he wanted to incite the crowd's hatred or pin him down with these words. So, what if I'm a fiendish cultivator? The demon ancestor still had a benevolent smile on his face. You're a brat from the Wang family? Why haven't I seen you before? The Dao integration stage expert narrowed his eyes and said indifferently, I've been fighting at the border for thousands of years. Even though a demonic cultivator like you has a high cultivation base, you don't know the iron-blooded pride of the men of martial flame. Regardless of whether he went to battle or not, whether he was a man or not, at the very least, he had to give himself the image of a righteous hero. If you dare to make a move on me, you will be making an enemy out of the Yanwu Empire and the Astral Soul's human race. Lei Changtian tilted his head. Thousands of years of fierce battles at the border? Why haven't I seen you before? Did you dream of going to the border? Iron-blooded pride? Are you even worthy of mentioning this word? At the end of his speech, Lei Changtian's expression darkened visibly. How could a person who didn't even fight at the border be so brazen and shameless to say something like that? If there was no one familiar with the border, wouldn't such a shameless person become a hero? How could a true hero, a true iron-blooded man endure such humiliation? The demon ancestor was infuriated, and the black aura around him became more and more pervasive. A terrifying aura instantly enveloped the entire area. At this moment, everyone felt as if they were at the end of the world, and their futures were all gone. Little Fatty ran out with a terrified expression and quietly hid behind the Yu family guards. The 4 Yu family guards' faces were pale, but they still surrounded the little Fatty to protect him, their eyes filled with extreme fear and worship. "What's going on?" Little Fatty asked. "Young master, please don't speak." One of the Yu family guards' lips turned blue. He trembled as he transmitted his voice. "Young master, you're really powerful." The Yu family guard hurriedly transmitted his voice. "What's going on? What's going on?" "Your decision to help Zhuoxiao Duo is really too correct." The guard felt his blood rush to his head and he stuttered. This is the demon ancestor. Tada. He. Little Fatty was stunned when he heard that. In an instant he understood everything that was happening. His eyes widened and his eyes rolled back. His legs kicked and he fell backward. His entire body was knocked out, that he was really knocked out. As the saying goes, a person's life is the shadow of a tree. The demon ancestor's reputation was almost equivalent to the non-poisonous sorcerer of the Umno Alliance. Even if he was slightly less threatening than the non-poisonous sorcerer to the martial artists of the 3 continents, he was still at the level of a nuclear bomb in the hearts of ordinary people. Although this old man had been fighting for the continent all his life, he had always been known for being temperamental, cruel, and bloodthirsty. He would directly kill someone he didn't like. Basically, no one in the continent would do such a thing, but the demon ancestor would. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been given the nickname Demon Ancestor. It was not rare for this demon ancestor to kill a few scum of the human race. It could even be described with 4 words. He was familiar with it, that the Yu family had always been recognized as the #1 family in Shangjing. The Heavenly King of the Right would let the family carry out the education of the strong whenever he was free. You don't have to form a relationship with them, but you can't offend them casually. With the identity of the Heavenly King of the Right, there were only a few people that he needed to recognize as someone he couldn't casually offend. At most, it was the group of peak people in the Astral Souls continent. What was even more coincidental was that he was one of the few people who could obtain the images of the strong. The portrait of the demon ancestor was impressively ranked first on the list of people that he absolutely couldn't offend. Not only could he not offend him, he couldn't provoke him. If he offended the minister or even the minister's wife, the Heavenly King of the Right could go and act coquettishly. Cough cough, well, at most, he would pay a little price. There would always be a way out. But if he offended the demon ancestor, even his own father, the Emperor Zhai Xing, couldn't persuade him. He would definitely die. Of course, it wasn't that no one could persuade the demon ancestor. For example, the minister could intercede, but the minister would never go. Don't look at how the demon ancestor was afraid of the minister. Every time he saw him, it was like a mouse seeing a cat, or a naughty child seeing a strict father. But every time the minister saw the demon ancestor, the minister's heart was actually very fucked up. If he could not meet the demon ancestor, he would. With such a vicious cycle, over time, the demon ancestor became the #1 existence in the entire astral souls that couldn't be provoked. As the guards of the young clan head, they were only allowed to participate in this kind of training when they were really sent to the little fatty's side. He took out the treasured portraits and let them identify them one by one. The little kid doesn't know any better. If he offends these people, you must be the first to stop him and apologize. Now, at this moment, they had just been trained for a short while, and they had already met a living one. And the distance between them was less than 20 to 30 feet. The most important thing was that everyone was on the same side. They were in the same group. Oh, I really didn't expect our young clan head to be such a big lucky start at well. Although the 4 guards felt that they were in the same group as the demon ancestor, they still couldn't help but be frightened. It was so scary. Oh my god. Zhuoxiaoduo's grandfather was actually the demon ancestor. But, after so many years, they seemed to have never heard of the demon ancestor having a daughter. Could it be that this old man had become an old tree in recent decades? No, that would be too disrespectful. It should be that the old clam gave birth to pearls. No, it should be that this old man had a wild youth? A pear blossom suppressing a begonia? So, he had a daughter? His daughter was married and had a grandson? And a granddaughter? That was probably the only explanation, that otherwise, there was no way to explain Zhuxiaoduo's age. Or perhaps this old man recognized her as his adopted daughter. That wasn't impossible. But what about her biological grandfather? What about her biological grandfather? Over here, the demon ancestor was already arguing with the two Dao integration stage super mighty figures of the Wang clan. The four guards of the Yu clan looked at the two Dao integration stage super mighty figures of the Wang clan with pity in their eyes. Sigh, your Wang clan is so unlucky. So unlucky. I really pity you. Your luck is really. Sigh, I've never gloated so much in my life that I really want to laugh. Hold it in. Fearing that they would be discovered, they hurriedly turned their heads away. They then looked around and saw the dumbfounded and confused expressions on the faces of the members of the 10 superclans. The sense of relief and superiority hidden in their hearts instantly surged forth. It's great to be in the Yu clan. It's great to have people on the top floor. Let's open our eyes and look at the dumbfounded expressions on these guys' faces. Do you know what kind of big shot you've encountered? Look at all of your stupid cunts. You have no idea what you've encountered and what you're about to encounter. This is awesome. Long live the young master. The young master's actions were really in the bag. However, he actually fainted from fright. Looking at the fainted Yu clan super mighty figures, the guards sighed with emotion. What did it mean by fortune favors fools? This was it, this was it. Your cultivation base is quite high. May I know your name? The Dao integration stage super mighty figure of the Wang clan felt that he was suffocating more and more. In order to dispel this extreme sense of oppression, he spoke again and again. The shock in his heart grew stronger and stronger. Could it be that this old man is able to form such a powerful aura? Could it be that he's a chaotic prime? Otherwise, how could there be such a powerful sense of oppression? Are you the one who asked about my name? The demon ancestor's eyes narrowed. Let me say this first. Everyone here, don't move. In the distance, a few members of the Shen clan saw that things were not going well and wanted to quietly escape from this troublesome place. However, with a wave of the demon ancestor's hand, the 7 people who had just made a move were already grabbed by him and placed on the ground in front of him. However, Lei Tonghan said angrily, how can they be so weak? I just grabbed them lightly and they were crushed? Without exception, the 7 people on the ground were all turned into a pile of mud by his claw. You are in me, I am in you, and you are in me. They could no longer be separated. Zhuxiaoduo rolled his eyes. You didn't control your strength well? Only a fool would believe that. However, Grandpa's way of showing off was really too low. Every day, a large number of people complain that I'm too short. Today, I've learned a sentence to use against all of you. It's not that I'm too short, it's that you're all too fast. Ha! This is awesome. Chapter 11:25. However, Lei Changtian had already turned around with a benevolent expression on his face. My dear grandson, my dear granddaughter, come over here and let your dear grandpa take a good look at you. Zhuxiaoduo had an innocent and obedient expression on her face as she called out cutely, hello, grandpa. Good child. Lei Changtian was overjoyed. Zhuxiaoyan realized that she seemed to have misunderstood her grandpa and felt a little embarrassed. She lowered her head and called out shyly, hello, grandpa. Good. Lei Changtian's old face was almost blooming with a smile. He lamented, Grandpa has been in seclusion all these years, and I haven't been by your side since you were young. It's really been hard on the two of you. Zhuxiaoduo coughed and thought to herself, we've been under the care of our parents, so we really haven't felt like we've been wronged. This old man didn't know how to speak. You should have said that you didn't fulfill your responsibility as a grandpa and felt guilty. It would have been best if you could make up for all the birthday gifts you've owed us all these years, but you definitely couldn't say that we've been wronged. It's good that Grandpa is back now. Zhuxiaoduo, who was cursing in his heart, looked as if he had found someone to rely on. With Grandpa around, I'm suddenly not afraid of anything anymore. This sentence was also what Zhuxiaoduo was thinking, and there was no falsehood in it at all. After all, he had the backing of a peak expert in this world. From now on, he would become a third-generation cultivator and obtain the qualifications to lie down and win in life. This had always been Zhuo Xiaoduo's biggest dream. Now that his dream had come true, he was naturally elated and complacent. This was the first time in his life that he felt so confident when facing a powerful enemy. It felt so good to have someone to rely on. "Good child, you're so obedient." Lei Chang'an suddenly felt a strong sense of familial happiness, and he was so happy that his eyes narrowed into slits. Suddenly, he turned his head and said, "Don't move." The two Dao integration stage powerful beings had wanted to slip away a long time ago. Now that he saw this old man coaxing his grandson, if he didn't leave now, when would he? But who would have thought that just as he thought about it, before he could put it into action, the old man turned around and warned him. "Senior Devil Cultivator, tonight's matter is a bit of karma between us juniors. Since Senior has condescended and intervened in this karma, how can we not give Senior face? This matter will naturally end here." Wang Jiazhe replied, "We're all members of the Astral Souls continent, so there's no need for internal strife. Tonight, the plan to lure Zhuo Xiaoduo by taking the opportunity of suppressing the Liu family had completely failed. It had even escalated to the point where their lives were in danger. Therefore, it was important for them to say a few words and retreat quickly. Although the old man in front of him was powerful, he had already given him enough face by putting in a good word for him. It was no different from admitting defeat. Would he really dare to kill two high-level Dao integration stage cultivators of the War God clan? The two of them were Dao integration stage cultivators and were among the most powerful beings on the continent. As long as he still had the big picture in mind, he wouldn't act so recklessly and suddenly damage the strength of the continent. The Astral Souls continent was already weak. Who would be willing to kill two Dao integration stage powerful beings over such a small matter? "Family? Are you worthy?" The demon ancestor opened his eyes and suddenly stretched out his hand. The void demonic hand appeared again and grabbed the Dao integration stage powerful being who had just spoken. He stood at attention in front of him and slapped him across the face. "How dare your Wang family say that you're family with my family? Did I give you face? Or did I give Wang Feihong face?" The surroundings were so silent that one could probably hear a strand of hair falling to the ground. This slap was like a thunderclap from the 9 heavens in the silence of all living beings. Slap. The crisp sound reverberated throughout the entire Dingjun stage. Everyone was instantly shocked to the extreme. One of the reasons why they were shocked was because of this old man's cultivation base. This man from the Wang family was a Dao integration stage powerful being. Even in the entire world, he was still a famous and vicious figure. And yet, this old man had grabbed him with a casual wave of his hand. He was a Dao integration stage super mighty figure, but he was completely powerless to resist. It was as if he was grabbing a chicken. No, even grabbing a chicken would not be this easy. That movement, that ease. It should be like grabbing a chicken in one's pants. The second reason why they were shocked was this old man crazy? Just now, he had directly mentioned Wang Feihong's name. That was Heavenly Monarch Feihong, the god of war, the idol of the entire Astral Souls continent and the entire human race. Wang Feihong. It did not matter if one spoke ill of the Wang clan, especially the current Wang clan. It did not matter if one spoke ill of the Wang clan. However, one could not speak ill of Wang Feihong. Directly mentioning Wang Feihong was blasphemous to the hero of the entire Star Soul human race. Blood was about to spurt out of the Wang family Dao integration stage powerful being's eyes as he glared at the demon patriarch. Although he was unable to move, he gritted his teeth and spat out, "Old bastard, you're dead." As far as he was concerned, no matter how high the old man's cultivation was, the old man was dead for sure after he had spoken those words without thinking. The other members of the Wu family and the Lu family all sighed in their hearts. This senior had misspoken. Lei Changtong cocked his head to the side in surprise. "So serious? How dare you insult our ancestor? You insult the god of war. You're dead. Your entire family is dead." The Wang family Dao integration stage powerful being's eyes were filled with humiliation and rage, as well as a hint of elation. Old man, it's too late for you to apologize now. You're already standing on the opposite side of the entire astral soul's continent. Lei Changtian faltered upon hearing this. I'm standing on the opposite side of the entire astral soul's continent? Just because I insulted that brat Wang Feihong? The Wang family Dao integration stage powerful being's expression was unyielding as he straightened his neck. I was captured by you because I wasn't as strong as you, so I admit defeat. You can kill me or torture me as you wish, but you insulted the god of war. Your crimes are unforgivable, and you deserve to die. All warriors of the entire astral soul's continent want to kill you. This is a major issue of right and wrong. We can't be confused. He looked at Lei Changtian with a stern expression. Insulting the god of war is a crime that deserves to be punished. Lei Changtian's eyes dimmed as he said, Is it really that serious? But it's not a big deal. There aren't many people nearby. If I kill all of you, who will know what I said or did? It's just a small matter of silencing people. It's not worth mentioning. Before he finished speaking, Lei Changtian's aura suddenly surged. Everyone present, regardless of whether they were enemies or allies, was enveloped by this powerful aura. No one was able to move. Everyone present was inexplicably frightened, and they felt a chill run down their spines. With the astonishing strength displayed by this old man, it would be a piece of cake for him to kill everyone present. This was definitely not a joke. Even the Yu family members who knew the true identity of this old man still felt a chill run down their spines. This old man had always done things his own way and didn't follow the rules. So what if he killed a few people? Please don't kill us as well. We're on the same side, we're on the same side. The Wang family's Dao integration stage expert panicked when he saw that his words seemed to have provoked the old man in front of him. However, he didn't show it on his face. He forced himself to activate his cultivation to the limit and said, Justice is in people's hearts. How can black and white be confused? Old man, you rely on your cultivation to run amok. Even if you can kill all of us, can you kill all the people in the world? This kind of perverse behavior is going against the heavens. The heavens have eyes and will definitely kill you. You can't redeem yourself for blaspheming the heroes of our continent. What the fuck? Lei Zhangtian was frightened by his righteous gaze. He thought to himself, back then, Wang Feihong was ridden and beaten by me 7 or 8 times a day for more than 300 years. So, even if I died 100,000 times, it wouldn't be enough for me? The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. In the end, he cursed out loud. Even if Wang Feihong was here now, I would still beat him up if I wanted to, let alone you. Lei Chang'an snorted and said, Look at what kind of people he raised. Every day, other than talking about the war god family, what other fucking business do they have? How many people have your Wang family harmed by using Wang Feihong's name as a protective talisman? Do you really think there are no records? Lei Changtan became angrier and angrier as he spoke. He slapped the Dao integration stage expert in front of him. War God Family. What an impressive title. Wang Feihong sacrificed himself for the continent back then, and his reputation is indeed very high. I admire him and respect him. However, how much has his reputation been ruined by you unfilial descendants over the years? If Wang Feihong were still alive, let me tell you, he would be the first to destroy your Wang family. With Wang Feihong's violent temper, he could kill everyone in your Wang family. Lei Changtian slapped the Dao integration stage expert's face. Can you be more shameless? With your cultivation base, why can't you defeat a general at the front line? Aren't you just afraid of death? Don't you dare to go to the front line? Why are you pretending in front of me? Even if your ancestors come back to life, you're fucking unqualified in front of me. Do you understand? Do you have to live off your ancestors' wealth? Do you have to carry the flag of your ancestors' war god family as a shell? If you don't carry that flag, won't your Wang family starve to death? Carrying the good reputation of your ancestors, doing evil things, and putting bad labels on others. You're so bad that you've grown sores all over your heads and pus all over your feet. However, You have to put yourself on the moral high ground in everything you do. As Lei Changtian spoke, he suddenly stopped slapping the Tao integration stage expert's face. He looked at the sky with a hint of melancholy. He thought of his brothers in the past and saw the current corruption of the Wang family. He couldn't help but feel sad. An extremely uncomfortable feeling suddenly welled up in his heart. I don't know if you feel particularly humiliated. Chapter 11:26. Lei Changtian looked up into the sky and heaved a long sigh. This Tao integration stage super mighty figure of the Wang family was enraged after being slapped repeatedly. What right do you have to criticize our ancestors? Just because you're so powerful? Although you're powerful, justice is in everyone's heart. You've insulted the Wang family and the god of war. You'll definitely get what you deserve. Old bastard, you won't be able to absolve yourself even if you die 10,000 times. Behind him, the members of the Wang family and the other families started to clamor at the same time. You've insulted the god of war. 100 deaths won't atone for that. 1,000 cuts won't be enough to atone for your sins. Everyone could see that. This person seemed to have some scruples. He didn't want to kill them? In the face of such a powerful being, there was really no other way except to use righteousness to suppress him. They couldn't beat him. Absolve myself from the blame. The public enemy of the continent. Noisy. Too noisy. There are too many people. It makes me feel like I'm outnumbered. It doesn't feel good. Let's not kill them. Lei Changtian chuckled coldly and sighed softly. Suddenly, he flipped his hand. With a smack, he slammed it down. Aside from these two Tao integration stage super mighty figures, everyone else from the Shen family, the Yin family, and the Huangfu family, regardless of who they were all slapped into mincemeat by this sudden slap right as astonishment appeared on their faces. It was like swatting flies with a fly swatter. Blood splattered all over the ground. At this moment, blood flowed like a river and converged into a stream before condensing in front of them. Everyone was dumbstruck. Lei Changtian said indifferently, "How can I absolve myself from the blame?" He was still sighing with melancholy a moment ago, but in the next moment he was already ruthless and merciless. He didn't even need Zuoxiao Duo to remind him. He was merciless and merciless in his attacks. Upon witnessing this scene, the two remaining survivors, the two Tao integration stage experts of the Wang family, were instantly dumbfounded. They were completely dumbfounded. They stared blankly at the churning waves of blood behind them. They couldn't even move their eyes. On the other side, the Lu family, Wu family, Yu family, and Lu family in their own camp didn't feel the slightest bit of joy when they saw this scene. They only trembled in fear. Why did this powerful existence suddenly make a move to kill? He didn't feel like he was going to kill anyone, nor did he feel any murderous intent. What was going on? Are they really going to kill us to silence us? We all thought that he was just joking. This old man, can no longer be described as a ruthless person. He is a cruel wolf. Everyone, don't be so nervous. The reason why I attacked was because these people all wanted to run away. Lei Changtian said in distress, I want them to stay, and I want them to calm down, so I had to come up with this plan. I don't know how to reason with them, and I'll try my best not to blabber when I can. That's all. The muscles on Zuoxiaoyan's pretty face twitched. What you meant by staying here and calming down was to kill him with one slap. Then this sentence was really appropriate. There was no room for exaggeration. Everyone stayed, and they stayed forever. They quieted down like never before, and they would never make a scene again in this lifetime. The others are a little noisy, and I'm also worried that the news will be leaked. Lei Changtian turned his head and looked at the four guards of the Yu family and the Lu family. Suddenly, everyone trembled in unison. Grandpa! Zuoxiao Duo called out, These are my friends. Lei Changtian's attitude suddenly changed. He smiled and said, Good boy, friends can also leak secrets. I guarantee that they won't, Zuoxiao Duo said seriously. Everyone looked at Zuoxiao Duo with gratitude. You all can go back. Remember not to talk nonsense. Zuoxiao Duo smiled and waved his hand. Little fatty, don't pretend to be unconscious. If the news here leaks out, I won't look for anyone else but you. Don't worry, Zwa. The unconscious Yu Xia jumped up and said energetically, don't worry, not a single word will leak out. Let's go, let's go. Okay. Zua, I'll contact you tomorrow. The Yu Xia began to call out to the others, let's go, let's go, let's go to the meeting. I'll be the host. In the Lu family, Fourth Master Lu looked at Zua Xiao Duo with a complicated expression and said, take care. When I get out, I'll pay a visit to the Lu family, Zua Xiao Duo said seriously. We'll wait for you. Under the Yu Xia's lead, everyone left in unison. Only Zua Xiao Duo, Zua Xiaonian, the demon ancestor, and the two Dao integration stage experts of the Wang family were left. The entire Dingjun stage became extremely empty. The two Dao integration stage experts felt uncomfortable all over and couldn't help but tremble all over. Only the two of us are left. What do you want to do? Bai and Jiao turned into two streaks of black and white light respectively and swept away the power of their souls. Zua Xiao Duo was not to be outdone either. He immediately rushed into the pool of blood and began to rummage through it excitedly. These people are going to stay here forever. They probably don't want any of their worldly possessions. There are so many spatial rings here. How many good things are there? Even if we don't need them, we can sell them and benefit the world. Robbing the rich and giving to the poor. It's always possible. Zua Xiao Duo actually managed to collect more than 70 storage rings and their personal weapons, and put them all into the storage rings. Well, this was mainly because Lei Changtian's cultivation base and strength were truly unfathomable. His strength was so precise that he only wanted to take his opponent's life and destroy his opponent's body. He didn't take any of his worldly possessions at all. This made Zua Xiao Duo overjoyed. The demon ancestor rolled his eyes. Who do you plan to help? Do you have a target in mind? Zua Xiao Duo replied righteously, as the saying goes, if you're poor, you should take care of yourself. If you're rich, you should help the world. Of course I have a target in mind. Lei Changtian was very pleased. His grandson's awareness was quite high. Not bad, not bad. It's no wonder your mother has taught you for so many years to have such a heart. Of course, Grandpa. If we were rich, I would've. Zua Xiao Duo didn't get a chance to finish his sentence before he saw the demon ancestor's expression turn a little off. Ahem. We're poor. The demon ancestor felt like he couldn't continue this conversation. Look at the two of you, brother and sister. You have 4 hands and 3 divine artifacts. Do you think I'm blind? You're so fucking poor. Just from what I've seen, you're already extremely wealthy on the Umno Alliance continent. No, that's not right. Even in the entire Astral Souls continent, or even the other 3 continents, few people would dare to say that they could take out that much. Zua Xiao Duo walked around the 2 Dao integration stage experts, collecting things. However, the 2 Dao integration stage experts didn't dare to move at all. There was no other reason. The old man in front of them was simply too terrifying. He was so terrifying that he exceeded the scope of their knowledge. They had originally wanted to use righteousness to suppress him. After all, no matter what kind of expert he was, he had to consider the consequences of offending so many established families in Shangjing that there was also the overall situation of the world. The role of high-level cultivators, etc. That these were all problems that peak cultivators of the Astral Souls continent had to consider as long as they were individuals. But, in the end, they had just threatened him, and he had only said a few words in total, and this person had casually raised his hand and directly slapped most of them to death, leaving only the 2 of them who had escaped the net. The instant the demon ancestor killed them, the 2 Dao integration stage experts' heads buzzed. How could there be such a lunatic in this world? Could it be that he didn't care about the 5 major families at all? Didn't he care about the situation of the continent and the safety of the world at all? The 2 Dao integration stage experts of the Wang family were so aggrieved that their lips trembled. What kind of crazy old man was this? In the past, who wouldn't be wary of such a move? However, this old man was actually like this. In that case, he had killed everyone else without any warning, yet he hadn't killed the 2 of them. Was it because he was more or less concerned about the 2 of them, or did he have other intentions? However, no matter what, it was good that they were still alive. However, Lei Changtian turned his head and looked at Zhuo Duo with a benevolent smile. My good grandson, why didn't you let me kill these two guys? Zhuo Duo smiled very innocently and said, Grandpa, these two are Dao integration stage experts. It's a pity that they were killed by you with a single palm strike. Upon hearing this, the two Dao integration stage experts felt even more relieved. Zhuo Duo was still looking at the big picture. That was good, that was good. When they returned, they had to report this matter to their family. This matter needed to be considered at length and could not be rash anymore. Who would have thought that Zhuo Duo, who was born in a small border city and came from a country bumpkin background, would have such a powerful backer? With such a ridiculously powerful grandfather, this matter was really troublesome. Lei Changtian frowned. Pity. Upon hearing Zhuo words, the demon ancestor couldn't help but feel the urge to teach his grandson a lesson. Women's kindness was not to be taken lightly. If a snake was not beaten to death, it would be harmed. Although it was a good thing that his grandson was so kind, it was too easy for others to take advantage of him. Lei Changtian was very worried. Sigh, this child was too kind. That's what Zhuo Duo said. That's right, Grandpa. It's a pity to kill them just like that. Nian Mao and I have never had any experience fighting against Dao integration stage experts. This is a great opportunity. Why don't we let them spar with us before we talk about what happens next? Lei Changtian's facial muscles twitched instantly. He understood. He completely understood. I'll let these two spar with me first. Trash can be reused. When they're done with their spar and have no more value, I'll kill them myself. Was this what they meant by talking about what happens next? Suddenly, he felt that his earlier worries were groundless. This little bastard was kind? What did that have to do with him? To think that he was so kind, it seemed that this old man was the one who was truly too kind. Why was this old man's old face burning? Did you two hear that? Lei Changtian looked at the two Dao integration stage experts of the Wang family. If you want to kill us, just do it. What's the point of saying so much? Humiliating others like this is not what a hero should do. The two Dao integration stage experts of the Wang family wore expressions of grief and indignation. These two were also very experienced people. After hearing Zhuo's words, how could they not know that they were overthinking things? Lei Changtian narrowed his eyes. Humiliate you? Do you think you're worthy? Let me tell you clearly. Spar with my grandson and granddaughter tonight. If they can successfully adapt to the way and atmosphere of fighting against Dao integration stage experts, I'll be merciful and spare your lives. Chapter 11:27. I'll spare your lives. These words were like heavenly music to the ears of the two Dao integration stage experts. What followed was a sense of ecstasy. Are you serious? With this old man's cultivation, do you think that I would lie? Or slap myself in the face? Lei Changtian said disdainfully. All right then. The two Dao integration stage experts were overjoyed. In front of this old man, they didn't even have the slightest bit of power. They had thought that they would definitely die tonight, given how ferocious this old man was. Only then did they manage to brace themselves for once. Who would have thought that there would be such a turn of events? Could it be that the heavens are really blessing the kind-hearted and giving them a chance to live? Sparring isn't a big deal. We love to guide our juniors. Then let's begin. Let's begin. I'm warning you. Don't try anything funny. You should know that your little tricks won't work in front of me. Don't worry, senior. We won't. Lei Changtian released the suppression on the two Dao integration stage experts. This was a unique exchange of pointers, and also a dutiful exchange of pointers. The two Dao integration stage experts of the Wang family were really giving their all for this sparring. From their auras, to their moves, to defending themselves, and then to their counterattacks that as they sparred, they also had to patiently and painstakingly explain everything in detail. Well, they had to give it their all. There was a life-seizing old monster eyeing them covetously from the side. He was an expert among experts. If either of them didn't teach properly and let him catch the slightest flaw, they would probably lose their lives here at this moment. There was no such thing as an outsider watching. The entire Dingjun stage was enveloped by Lei Changtian's enormous divine consciousness. Not even a bird in the sky could fly over, let alone spectators. That's not how you're going about it. The difference in your cultivation is too great. Don't even think about counterattacking at a time like this. In the Tao integration realm, the most important thing is the fusion of all techniques, and you can't grasp the key point at all with your cultivation. Any slight movement will cause you to be exposed and your condition to collapse. Therefore, any counterattack at a time like this is futile. At this time, don't even think about dodging. Dodging is just a temporary expedient. Once you start dodging, I can use the momentum of the convergence of 10,000 arts to continue chasing after you, making you constantly show flaws. Then you can only keep dodging until you can't dodge anymore. If you can't dodge anymore, you'll be captured and killed. At a time like this, the best way to deal with it is to use the most subtle techniques you know. You can divert the force with little effort. When the attack is eliminated, you can then dodge. Only then can you ensure that your opponent will not catch a flaw and continue to pursue you. How do you explain this? For example, when the flood peak comes, you have to take it head-on and survive the first wave. Then, you have to divert the force of the flood. Only then can you ensure that the dam is not breached. Do you understand? If you dodge right away, the power of the flood peak will follow you closely until the dam is destroyed. That's right, said Ji Hao. You should understand now, right? Taking it head-on is also a matter of technique. If you can avoid it head-on, then don't. First of all, it's easy to break if you're too rigid. Once you misjudge your opponent's power level, it's very likely that you'll collapse instantly. Similarly, if your opponent finds out that you actually dare to take it head-on, he'll add more force, and it's very likely that he'll kill you in an instant. The trick to dealing with this is, if we're heavy weapons, it'll be easier for you to carry them. However, if we're light weapons, it'll be even more difficult to deal with. For high-level cultivators, lifting light weapons as if they're heavy is a piece of cake. Different enemies, different battles, different weapons. Especially when you're up against Tao integration stage cultivators, given the vast difference in your cultivation bases. Zuoxiao Duo and Zuoxiaonian battled again and again under the pressure of Tao integration stage cultivators. This went on for a full hour. During this hour, both of them benefited immensely. It was a rare opportunity to receive wholehearted guidance from two Tao integration stage cultivators. Finally, even Zuoxiao Duo and Zuoxiaonian were feeling a little exhausted. Only then did this sparring match officially come to an end as Zuoxiao Duo and Zuoxiaonian had truly understood two concepts. One concept, powerful beings. The other concept, Tao integration stage. Both of them felt that they had benefited immensely from this constant tempering. Now, all that was left was for the two of them to carefully ponder over these concepts in their daily battles. There were many things that one knew but did not know the reason for. No matter how high one's aptitude was, it was impossible to master these concepts in a short period of time. The two Tao integration stage cultivators of the Wang family were also very tired. However, they felt as if a huge weight had been lifted off their shoulders. "Senior, we've done it," one of them said. "In other words, could you let us go now?" Lei Chang'an nodded and praised, "Not bad, not bad." "You're welcome. I hope that in the future, our Wang family can put aside our former enmity and visit you more often." The Tao integration stage cultivator of the Wang family was full of smiles. "In that case, we'll take our leave now." "Leave? Who said you could leave?" Lei Changtian emphasized the word you. The two Tao integration stage cultivators of the Wang family were suddenly stunned. Wasn't this the condition that they had agreed on? Lei Changtian said indifferently, "I said that I would spare your lives. Of course, I won't go back on my word. However, don't you know how to count? What's a life?" The two Tao integration stage cultivators of the Wang family were instantly stunned. A life? What the fuck? Was there such a thing? A life? Didn't that mean? "Senior, what do you mean? It's very clear. This old man has said that I will spare your lives, and I will spare your lives. However, I will definitely not spare two lives." Lei Chang'an said matter-of-factly, "I didn't say that I would spare your lives, did I?" The two Dao integration stage cultivators of the Wang family were dumbfounded. You have a cultivation level above the clouds and are at least in the primordial chaos realm. How can you say such shameless words? You've gone too far. It's your lack of understanding. How can you blame me? The two Dao integration stage cultivators roared and charged forward. Their eyes were bloodshot. They had been domineering their entire lives. When had they ever been played like this? We almost became nannies for your grandson. In the end, you were playing us. Once this kind of anger rushed up, his lungs almost exploded. We'll fight you to the death. The two Dao integration stage cultivators surged their spiritual energy and tried their best to activate their dantian. Their bodies suddenly expanded. Self-detonation. They wanted to self-detonate. Lei Changtian clasped his hands together. His hands, which were hundreds of feet long and wide, held the two Dao integration stage cultivators in his hands. Amidst the black smoke, two puffs sounded like two farts. One of the two Dao integration stage cultivators had already been reduced to a pile of mush. As for the other, his dantian had been destroyed, his divine sense had been sealed, his life essence had been split, and his essence had been shattered. Lei Changtian released his hands. The Dao integration stage cultivator of the Wang family stood there. He seemed to have aged 10,000 years. He couldn't even stand up. He sat down on the ground with a thump. Looking at the corpse of his brother beside him, he suddenly howled into the sky. His voice was extremely miserable. Leave your name, you old bastard. We've been destroyed by your hands in this life. We'll definitely repay you in our next life. He glared viciously at Lei Changtian. At this moment, all fear disappeared. All that was left was hatred. Lei Changtian said in surprise, "You're fucking dreaming. You're actually thinking about the next life. What do you want? You said yourself that you would spare our lives. Now, my brother has been killed by you and I have been crippled by you. Could it be that you want to go back on your promise of sparing our lives?" The Dao integration stage cultivator of the Wang family roared furiously, "The heavens have eyes. Aren't you afraid of divine retribution?" Lei Changtian said leisurely, "Of course I said that I'd spare your lives. But did I say that I'd let you go?" The Dao integration stage cultivator of the Wang family's eyes widened to the extreme. He looked at Lei Changtian with grief and indignation for 3 lifetimes, crying tears of blood from his heart. "Old bastard, how can a person be as despicable as you?" Lei Changtian said matter-of-factly, "My big brother used to deal with me in the past. He was always so stingy with his words. Isn't it natural for me to learn from him?" "Who's your boss?" The Dao integration stage cultivator of the Wang family asked furiously. A proud expression appeared on Lei Changtian's face. He said smugly, "My boss is." At this point, his expression suddenly changed. He became extremely vexed, self-reproach, disdain, and anger. He slapped him and said furiously, "What does this have to do with you? What's there to ask?" In anger, he slapped him twice more. He immediately fainted. "Grandpa, don't kill him." Zhuoxiao Duo reminded him, "You still have to ask why they're targeting me." Lei Changtian said, "Don't worry, he won't die." A gust of spiritual energy flashed past. The Dao integration stage cultivator of the Wang family slowly regained consciousness. "Tell me, why is the Wang family plotting against my grandson?" Lei Changtian said, "Tell me honestly, and I'll let you go." However, the Dao integration stage cultivator of the Wang family was much smarter now. He said resentfully, "You let me go, but your grandson and granddaughter won't let me go. What's the use of that?" "Oh my." Lei Changtian's eyes widened. He's actually become smarter. The Dao integration stage cultivator of the Wang family closed his eyes angrily and turned his head to the side. "I've been tricked to this extent. If I still can't figure out what tricks you're playing, wouldn't I be an idiot?" The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. Finally, he turned his head and spat on the ground. He closed his eyes and said disdainfully, "I can't believe there's such a shameless person like you in this world." Lei Changtian snorted and said, "You're also a Dao integration stage cultivator. Don't you know that there's a Dharma spell called soul searching in this world?" The Wang family cultivator trembled all over. You can't live or die in front of me. Why do you want to suffer the pain of soul-searching before you die? You won't have anything left anyway. Lei Changtian said patiently. Soul-searching. The Wang family cultivator suddenly burst into tears and howled in a hoarse voice. But you won't believe me. Even if I tell you, you'll still have to soul-search to verify it. Old bastard, hurry up if you want to soul-search. Why do you have to play with me? Lei Changtian didn't feel any sense of accomplishment. He cursed with a gloomy face. Fuck, you shouldn't have been so smart earlier. Your IQ just has to be online now. Chapter 1128. In the end, Lei Changtian still performed a soul-searching on this Dao integration stage super mighty figure. After a soul-searching operation, the demon ancestor sighed softly and looked at the Wang family Dao integration stage super mighty figure, who was now like a pile of mud. Which one of you is going to do it? I said that I would spare his life, so I will definitely spare his life. There is no falsehood and there is no discount. But you two didn't say that, did you? Zhuo Duo and Zhuo Xiaoyan both had the same thought. Grandpa is so shameless. Then, Zhuo Xiaoyan turned to Zhuo Duo and blinked her bright eyes. Got it. Zhuo Duo obviously couldn't let Zhuo Xiaoyan do such dirty work. He stepped forward and smashed the Dao integration stage super mighty figure's head into pieces. Little White and Little Jiao happily came out to wander around. This was a Dao integration stage divine spirit. Since the two of them had made their debut, they had never devoured a divine spirit of this level. Today, they actually had two portions at once. They ate heartily, and the aftertaste was endless. Both of them had a good time and their strength had increased significantly. Once they were done enjoying themselves, their Dao integration stage remnant souls would be completely annihilated in body and soul. What's going on, Grandpa? These two are already Dao integration stage super mighty figures, so they should be at the very top of the Wang family. Even if they don't know everything, they should at least know a lot about it, right? Zhuo Duo asked. This is really fucking complicated. It's not something that can be explained in a few sentences. Lei Changtian frowned. We'll talk about it when we get back to our place. Sai, your father is so irresponsible. He left you two to do this alone. He's so careless and doesn't know how to take care of his children at all. What kind of father is this? What kind of son is this? This is too much. What kind of father is this? I really can't stand it. He complained as he returned with Zhuo Duo. Zhuo Xiaoyan was not used to her grandfather complaining about her father, but he was an elder. It was reasonable for the father-in-law to scold the son-in-law. Zhuo Duo rolled his eyes. He thought to himself, you're such an old father-in-law. You're such a coward in front of my dad. Now that my dad isn't in front of you, you're acting all arrogant. That night in Shangjing was destined to be peaceful. After the Lu family and the Yu family returned, they immediately called for an emergency meeting with the upper echelons of the family. As for the Wang clan, the Shen clan, and the others, none of the people from the opposing clans returned. It was inevitable that some of the clans found it strange. After a while, they sent people out to search and inquire about the situation. But no matter how hard they searched, they couldn't find even the slightest clue. What's more, they couldn't even find the clearest location of the incident, the Dingjun stage. Once the group of scouts got close to the Dingjun platform, they would encounter a strange atmosphere similar to that of ghosts going around in circles. They would end up getting further and further away that they couldn't even get close to the location of the incident. How could they find the relevant people? This strange situation lasted until 4:30 in the morning. With the crowing of the rooster, dawn came and the fog in front of them gradually dissipated. The scouts could finally enter the Dingjun stage. But after entering, they only saw broken wreckage and broken limbs all over the ground. Basically, every corpse that was still intact was decayed and dilapidated as if they had been dead for several years. Damn, what exactly happened? Why didn't even leave behind a fragment of the soul? Could it be that there was really a ghost last night? The more I think about it, the more horrifying it is. I wandered around here for almost the whole night, but I couldn't really get close. It's most likely that I encountered a ghost going around in circles. It didn't run away, isn't it? It's obviously nearby. But no matter how much I wandered around, I couldn't get close. There were a few times when I directly went out of the city. If it wasn't a ghost, what else could it be? Over the years, more and more people have died in Shangjing City. More than half of the people who died unjustly. After so many years, it's understandable that it finally exploded. It's reasonable. Thinking back to the things that the Wang family and the Shen family have done over the years, it's an understatement to say that they have done all kinds of evil. Now that the cycle of karma has come, it's karma. It should be said that this is the first paranormal incident in Shangjing in the past 1,000 years. The rumor spread from mouth to mouth, and it became more and more widespread. The supernatural incidents in Shangjing became a hot topic in a very short period of time. Translator, Nyoibo Studio Editor, Nyoibo Studio. In fact, there were quite a few people who came in contact with the paranormal incident at the Dingjun stage to a certain extent yesterday. There were really many people who took photos and videos from afar last night. Later on, they even saw the black fog rising from afar. It was rolling and rolling inside, as if there were countless ghosts howling excitedly inside. However, it was difficult to identify more specific things. Although the government took action to remove these videos and pictures at the first opportunity, the rumor of paranormal activity in Shangjing caused a great uproar. Only the few clans involved in the matter remained silent. The Wang family. Bam. The head of the family, Wang Han, slammed his hand on the table. Paranormal activity? What a load of nonsense. There must be other powerful beings who have entered the battle and used special techniques to obscure their vision. If it's just a paranormal activity, what kind of ghost would be able to kill a Dao integration stage cultivator? Even a ghost king wouldn't be able to do that. A powerful being of at least the Dao integration pinnacle stage has entered Shangjing, and he's standing on the side of the Lu family. This is already confirmed. Last night, Zhuoxiao Duo and Zhuoxiaonian must have been present as well. Otherwise, the two 12th generation ancestors wouldn't have intervened and caused the situation to spiral out of control. There must be something fishy about this. Even if it's really a paranormal activity, it doesn't make sense that the Lu family members have returned while our people have all died there. Investigate. Investigate thoroughly. Now, the only thing the Wang clan could be sure of was that the Yu clan had also made a move in this battle. Yesterday, Hero Yu had held a welcoming dinner for Zhuoxiao Duo, and it was such a grand occasion that almost everyone in Shangjing knew about it. The Wang clan and Lu clan's life and death battle had been decided on the military platform. Zhuoxiao Duo had appeared at the military platform, and Hero Yu had most likely followed along as well. It was even possible that it was the Yu clan's handiwork to be able to produce an ability user above the Dao integration stage. However, they couldn't and didn't dare to cause trouble for the Yu family. There were also the Wu family and the Lu family. They had also made arrangements last night, and it was very likely that they had also entered the battle. Another key suspect was the Lu family. The Lu family was the invitee, and the Wang family could secretly invite allies. They could even secretly send a Dao integration stage cultivator as their trump card. Why couldn't the Lu family arrange other powerful beings? However, it was useless to ask the families on his side. Because, like him, they were all dead and naturally didn't know anything. If there were people who knew the truth, it would probably be the Yu family, the Wu family, the Lu family, and the Lu family. The Yu family definitely couldn't be provoked, and they didn't dare to provoke them. When it came to the Wu family and the Lu family, the leaders of the two families could easily push the blame away. We didn't go. It had nothing to do with us. You said we went? Bring out evidence? If it really came to this point, the situation would be very troublesome. There could be even more troublesome situations. If they were really forced into a corner, there was a very high chance that the other party would directly go into battle. You're too much of a bully. Who's afraid of who? Let's have another decisive battle on the battle stage. The Wang family was very clear about the hooligan ways of these families in Shangjing. Don't look at how each of them was more gentle, kind, and courteous than the other. However, when something really happened, each one of them would act like a hooligan, twisting words and forcing logic, and saying things that weren't right. As a result, only the Liu family was left to openly ask about this matter. Because the Liu family was the invitee, all the other families could deny and shirk responsibility, but the Liu family couldn't shirk responsibility. Pay attention to the news of the Liu family's fourth son, Liu Jian. If you can catch him, catch him. If you can't, we'll pay him a visit. Wang Han faintly felt a huge sense of danger approaching in his heart. At this moment he actually felt upset, and his heart was in turmoil. Two Dao fusing experts. Two of the pillars of the Wang clan had actually died without a sound yesterday. This was simply unbearable pain and unbearable loss. Big brother, I'm afraid there's something strange about this matter. Wang Zhong, Wang Han's younger brother, had always been recognized as the brains of the Wang family. At this moment, he frowned and stroked his beard over and over again. He narrowed his eyes and said, I've sorted through all the clues related to yesterday's incident, and I've come up with an extremely terrifying conjecture. What conjecture? Just say it, don't beat around the bush. Wang Han was in a state of turmoil, and he didn't hold back at all. You guys leave first. Wang Zhong said to the others. After these people left, Wang Zhong set up a soundproof barrier and then sat in front of Wang Han cautiously. Big brother, something's not right. Who doesn't know that something's not right? The question now is, where did it come from? I thought about it yesterday. The most fundamental source of this series of events is Zuoxiao Duo, and the root cause is Qin Fangyang and He Yuanyue. The former is his teacher, and the latter is his principal. Can you say something I don't know? The main point, I want to hear the main point now. Big brother, don't worry, here comes the main point. The company that's desperately trying to smear our reputation online is called Zuoshui Company. After the incident with Qin Fangyang, the Minister Vigilant came to ancestral Dragon Gaolu as his first stop after coming out of seclusion. He even bluntly said that he was friends with Qin Fangyang. Do you still remember that the minister's surname is Zhuo? Wang Zhong frowned and said, the terrifying conjecture I'm talking about is, with so many Zhuos gathered together, could there be a connection? As soon as Wang Zhong said this, Wang Han's expression changed drastically. He sat down on the chair, and sweat dripped down his head. He only felt that his heart was beating like a drum in an instant, and his mouth was dry for a moment. This can't be said carelessly. Of course, why would I say carelessly? There's a reason for this conjecture, Wang Zhong said. Big brother, think about it carefully. Zuoshui Company is a Shao company, and with the power of our Wang family in both public and private affairs, and the power of both the good and the bad, we can't touch it? In this land of astral souls, what company can't even touch our Wang family? Chapter 1129. Last night, two Dao integration stage patriarchs died without a sound. How can such an accident be described as strange? Even if a powerful enemy joined the battle, even if it was a primordial chaos expert like the Marshal of the Four Directions, with the cultivation, strength, and battle prowess of our two ancestors, they wouldn't have died so silently, right? To be able to make two Dao integration stage experts die without a sound. The most conservative estimate is that the enemy's cultivation and strength are at least at the peak of the primordial chaos realm, or even higher. But how many almighty beings have reached this level, let alone the Astral Souls continent, even if we include the Umno Alliance continent and the Dao League continent? On the other hand, if we only include the Astral Souls continent, the left and right heavenly kings, Baiyun Fairy, and, at most, there are no more than 15. Boss, what do you think about this? Could it be? Wang Zhong's voice was trembling. His eyes flickered, and his face suddenly turned pale. Don't tell me it's really the minister's fault? Wang Han's whole body trembled. No, 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 this is absolutely impossible. Why is it impossible? Wang Han moved quickly and quickly pulled out the information about Zuoxiao Duo from the pile of investigation materials. Look carefully. This Zuoxiao Duo's background is clear. Although his surname is Zuoxiao Duo, his father is Zuochanglu, and his mother is Wu Yuding. The life history of this family, from the birth of Zhuo Xiaoduo to the present, and the resumes of his parents, are all well documented. It has nothing to do with the minister at all, right? Zhuo Xiaoduo has only risen in recent years. Before that, he was a well-behaved student. Moreover, he was a good-for-nothing for so many years. If he is the son of the minister and his wife, how could he be like this? Even if he has some problems. What problems can the minister not solve? And that's with Xiaonian. Although she has been known as a genius since she was a child, she entered the Kunlun Taoist sect to cultivate. Although the Kunlun Taoist sect can be considered a big sect, it can only be considered a small sect compared to the minister. Right? Everything is clear. Zhuo Xiaoduo and Zhuo Xiaonian have nothing to do with the minister. They have nothing to do with each other. Wang Zhong sighed and said, "Boss, why are you—" "When did I say Zhuo Xiaoduo and Zhuo Xiaonian? Pay attention to this report." He reached out and took the scroll beside him. It was the investigation file of Zhuo Changlu and Wu Yuding. Take a look at Zhuo Xiaoduo's parents. The life trajectory of this couple is indeed clear, but what about their relationship with their parents? This Zhuo Changlu. Who is his father? Who is his mother? Who is his grandfather? There is nothing. And this Wu Yuding is also the same. There is no clear social relationship. Wang Zhong said, "Boss, don't you think it is strange? This is the current survey of interpersonal relationships. But a person's life trajectory is not a problem. A deeper background is the key." Wang Han stared at the file. His lips trembled as he said, "What are you trying to say? Are you trying to say that this Zhuo couple is the minister's descendant? But the 3 continents have already confirmed that the minister has no descendants in this world." "Who said that they are the minister's descendants?" Wang Zhong said, "I am more inclined to say that this Zhuo couple is the minister's clansmen. Even if they are only his clansmen, we are still finished." Wang Handa shook his head. "That's impossible. The minister's clansmen were all killed in battle before the minister rose to power. This part has been recorded for a long time. When the minister reached the sky realm, he went back to his birthplace to search for his clansmen. At that time, the one who accompanied the minister was my ancestor. My ancestor left behind a letter that mentioned this matter. The entire village had more than 2,000 people, but no one survived. After that, the minister, in order to take revenge, traveled all over the continent to search for his enemy. After his cultivation reached the peak, he killed a heavenly king of the Wu people. In that battle, that heavenly king of the Wu people, along with 300,000 soldiers under his command, was turned into ashes by the minister. Therefore, I can say with certainty that the minister has no descendants and no clansmen. This Zhuo Changlu, Zhuo Xiaoduo, and Zhuo Xiaonian, although their surnames are also Zhuo, there is no way they are related to the minister. It is just a coincidence that they have the same surname." Wang Han said decisively, "Wang Zhong, you've always been cautious. That's part of you, but don't be so paranoid and scare yourself. When we first identified Zhuo Xiaoduo as the target, because of the word, Zhuo, you and I had already considered all the details. There's no such possibility at all." Wang Zhong said, "But how do you explain today's matter? Who can mobilize such manpower? Who has the power to protect the Zhuo clan to this extent?" Wang Han's face was gloomy. He didn't speak for a long time. After a long time, he said, "I'll say it again. Don't scare yourself. Think about it carefully. If the minister has a bloodline descendant, and if there's a clan related to the minister's bloodline in this world, it should be a clan that's more prosperous than the Yu clan, right? But in fact, is there such a prominent clan in the world? Think about it again. The things that our Wang clan has done over the years are indeed out of line. Naturally, there are many people who don't like us. Today, the whole Astral Souls continent's attention is on our Wang clan. What's so strange about hitting us when we are down? I have repeatedly investigated the Zhuo clan's company. I can confirm that there are a few veterans in the Eastern Army, and a few who used to work in the munitions factory. It is possible that the generals and the heavenly king of the right protected the company. But that is the limit. They will not do anything more. But how do you explain the Zhuo in the Zhuo clan's company? This has something to do with the big boss behind them. According to the investigation, the big boss behind the Zhou clan's company is an internet expert with a particularly rich background. Looking for his roots, it is either the UMNO Alliance or the Dao League. It is obviously a smokescreen, but it also shows that he does not have a strong background. Otherwise, why would he be so careful? Also, this person's recent contact exposed a clue, but it was quickly erased. What clue was exposed? The so-called clue is actually the confirmation of the big boss's online name. It is called a clue, but it is actually useless. It is better than nothing. What is his name? Jingjing Cat. Jingjing Cat? Wang Zhong scratched his head. What is this name? His online name has always been strange. Maybe this person likes cats very much. Wang Han was a little impatient. He was shocked just now, and now he felt weak all over. He really did not want to talk anymore. It seems that spiritual thought goddess's nickname at home is Nian Nian Cat. Wang Zhong pondered, why do I have a feeling that this company might belong to Zhuoxiao Duo? Wang Han was stunned. This is really possible. If the company was really founded by Zhuoxiao Duo, then wouldn't the cause and effect be connected? Wang Hani slapped his thigh. Don't forget, according to the information we have, that Zhuoxiaonian was adopted by the Zhuo couple. She has no blood relation to Zhuoxiao Duo. That's right, so it's possible. That explains why this company is called Zhuoshuai. It's because Zhuoxiao Duo is the boss. Moreover, this brat always brags that he's handsome and often talks about it. Yes. Isn't everything correct now? No, it's still not right. If it's really the company founded by Zhuoxiao Duo, why are there so many big shots supporting him? Wang Zhong frowned and thought about it, but he still could not figure out this question. After going around in circles, the topic finally came back to that sensitive question. Wang Han and Wang Zhong looked at each other, both confused. In the military, in the real circle of high-ranking officials, we still don't have anyone. We can only guess based on the information we have. This is our biggest shortcoming. Wang Han sighed. I'll go to the Nian family this afternoon. The Nian family? I'll go personally and find out what they're thinking. I don't think it's the Yu family who did this, but the Nian family. This time, I'll go there to find out what the Nian family's attitude is. Wang Han pondered and said, but what should we do about Zhuoxiao Duo? It's imperative that we target Zhuoxiao Duo. But if there's really such a master, a super master, who's always around Zhuoxiao Duo, we won't stand a chance at all. Wang Zhong frowned and asked, that's not a problem. If we can capture Zhuoxiao Duo, that'll be the best. If we can't, in the end, we'll have to use the blood sacrifice to expand the range to cover the entire capital. As long as Zhuoxiao Duo is still in the capital, we'll still be able to succeed. Right? Wang Han said uncertainly. Big brother, this is a big deal. You have to be sure. Wang Zhong asked. Then I'll go ask the master again. We'll talk about it after we confirm the situation. Okay. I'll go. Be careful, big brother. After Wang Han left, Wang Zhong sat in the study with a sullen face and did not move for a long time. After a long time, he slowly walked out. He walked all the way to his courtyard and found his wife. Wan, there's something you need to deal with as soon as possible. It'd be best if you can finish it today. What is it? Our 7 youngest grandsons. Can you let your family take them away today? Tell them that they're your children. Or maybe a relative of the Yang family just gave birth to them. Things have actually gotten to this point? Chapter 1130. It's always good to be prepared. It's always good to have a backup plan. If the Wang clan can survive these last few months peacefully, everything will be fine. At that time, we can just find a random reason to bring them back. But if they can't, I'm afraid the Wang clan will cease to exist. They are still young. Leave them some life. Don't let the Wang clan really die. Wang Zhong sighed with melancholy. Cease to exist? His wife couldn't help but widen her eyes. It can't be, right? We're the God of War's family. How can it? There's nothing new under the sun. Retribution is never good. It's just that the time hasn't come yet. When the time comes, everything will be retribution. Wang Zhong said lightly, hurry up and do it. Only you know about this. Don't tell anyone else. But this. The old lady's eyes flashed with hesitation. Only he knew that it was impossible because a lot of people would be involved in this matter if he wanted to succeed. What about the others who knew about it? They were all very close to him, and he couldn't just give them up just because he wanted to. This is the backup plan for the bloodline. It's urgent. Wang Zhong pondered for a while and said, you can do as you see fit. It's impossible that the children's parents don't know about this. It's good if these things are exposed. It'll be a better cover for the bloodline that was sent out. But all the previous relationships with the family must be cut off completely. Completely cut off. Understood. In Zhuxiaonian's courtyard, Lei Changtian clicked his tongue in wonder. In the inner city of Shangjing, where every inch of land is worth an inch of gold, my granddaughter actually has the money to buy a small courtyard house. After he learned about the growth of his grandson and granddaughter, he deeply felt that it was a miracle. It was a miracle in novels. They were the proper male and female protagonists. Zhuxiao Duo puffed out his chest. He was so proud that his face glowed. He almost announced loudly, this daughter-in-law is mine. Zhuxiaonian blushed and said, this is all Dogda's money. I'm only responsible for spending it. No wonder. Based on the way he stirred up trouble and obtained resources in the Wizard Alliance, 1 meter taller sky is not enough to describe him. He must have a lot of wealth. Lei Changtian looked at Zhuxiao Duo with gratification and said, grandson, your cultivation is not low. Why don't you have a famous nickname until now? Look at your sister, the goddess of spiritual thoughts. What a nice name. Zhuxiao Duo said, why don't I have a famous nickname? My nickname, Iron Fist Young Master, is more or less popular. Forget it. What's your nickname? Nicknames are your name tags. People can give wrong names, but they can't give wrong nicknames. This is the principle. What kind of lousy name is that Iron Fist Young Master of yours? Lei Changtian glared at her. Grandpa will give you a nice name. Zhuxiao Duo humbly asked for advice. Grandpa, please go ahead. After thinking for a long time, Lei Chang'an said, how about 3 miles higher in the sky? Zhuxiao Duo frowned. Obviously, he was extremely dissatisfied. What kind of lousy name was this? However, it was Grandpa who gave it, so Zhuxiao Duo had to politely decline. I'll discuss this with my parents first. If it's okay, I'll use it. Lei Changtian was shocked and said, if you don't like it, we'll talk about it later. You don't have to discuss such a small matter with your parents. You don't have to tell them. Zhuxiaonian served the tea that had been brewed. Zhuxiao Duo began to pour the tea. Grandpa, what did you find from the soul search? This was the most important thing at the moment. Zhuxiao Duo didn't know if it was an illusion, but he always felt that his grandpa was a little out of tune. He didn't do anything important and always talked nonsense. Other than his extremely high cultivation level, he didn't have any other advantages. Of course, just his extremely high cultivation level alone was enough to make Zhuxiao Duo kneel and lick his boots for a long time. It's really quite complicated. I haven't sorted it all out yet. Forget it, I'll just tell you directly. Lei Changtian put on the airs of a grandpa and said kindly, it's like this. Zhuxiao Duo and Zhuxiaonian sat upright in front of Lei Changtian and pricked up their ears at the same time. Ha ha. Lei Changtian laughed inexplicably, rocking back and forth. Zhuxiaonian was curious. Grandpa, what's wrong? Zhuxiao Duo was also very interested. Was the Wang family's matter that funny? Haha, seeing the two of you sitting upright and pricking up your ears, I suddenly thought of your nicknames, haha. Lei Changtian laughed until he couldn't catch his breath. Their nicknames? Sitting upright and pricking up their ears and their nicknames? Duduo dog? Nian Nian cat? Did we give you a sense of déjà vu just because we listened carefully? What's the connection? Suddenly Zhuxiaonian was speechless. Zhuxiao's face was distorted. Lei Changtian was overjoyed and pointed at Zhuxiao Duo, Duo dog. Then he pointed at Zhuxiaonian, Nian Nian cat. After a pause, he said, this is the nickname that suits the two of you best. It's really too vivid. Indeed, there are only wrong names but no wrong nicknames. The ancients didn't lie to me, they didn't lie to me. Ha! Lei Changtian's laughter shook the courtyard house. The siblings suddenly felt their worldview collapse. They looked at each other and saw the anger in each other's eyes, but they didn't dare to say anything. They finally understood the real reason why their parents didn't let Grandpa see them even though they were already so old. That was way too out of place. I was waiting for you to talk about serious matters, but your thoughts flew tens of thousands of miles away. I'm so angry. Zhuxiaonian pouted. I'm so angry. Zhuxiaoduo puffed up his cheeks. If you weren't Grandpa, I would have smashed you with a hammer. The siblings looked at Lei Changtian, who couldn't stop laughing. They could clearly see the demon ancestor's tongue jumping happily in his big mouth. Grandpa! The two of them shouted at the same time. Their voices were very loud, unprecedentedly loud, and a little deafening. Ha! Cough, cough, cough. Lei Changtian suddenly stopped laughing and coughed a few times. He probably felt embarrassed. Suddenly laughing like this really damaged Grandpa's mighty and kind image. I'm not joking about your names. Actually, I thought of a little wolf dog sitting on the ground with its ears up. No, actually, the front line of the Sun-Moon Pass was very badly fought, very badly. Lei Changtian hurriedly changed the topic. The Zhuxiaonian. The Zhuxiaoduo. Lei Changtian could only pick up the teacup and take a sip to hide his embarrassment. Finally, with a gulp, he poured the tea into his mouth, chewed and swallowed, and said, "Good tea." Then he asked, "Where were we just now?" The two of them were speechless. "We were talking about what you found when you searched our souls." Lei Zhangtian's train of thought finally returned to its original position. He said, "It's actually very simple. That's all. The Wang family is planning to do something big. They're gathering luck. Isn't this the time when the dragons are fighting for the bloodline? It just so happens that some other opportunities are also gathering at this time. In order to accomplish this, they need a carrier, or rather, a sacrifice. And the choice of this sacrifice is no small matter. In addition to possessing extremely strong fate energy, the person's cultivation must also be at a certain level. It's not easy to have these two characteristics at the same time, but Xiao Duo, you're recognized as the continent's #1 genius. Moreover, you have great fortune and great fate energy. Therefore, the Wang family plans to sacrifice Xiao Duo to trigger an explosion of fate energy. Then they'll use some special method to seize the fate energy of the dragons fighting over the veins, as well as the fate energy from the heavenly secrets, and let the Wang family monopolize it. It's best to pour it all into one person. If this wishful thinking succeeds, then the fate energy of the beneficiary will be favored by heaven and earth. After all, it's all of Xiao Duo's fate energy, all of the dragon's fate energy from the dragons fighting over the veins, and all of the heaven and earth's fate energy from the heavenly secrets. If all of it is gathered in one person, wouldn't it seize the fortune of heaven and earth and create an earth-shattering legend of a genius? Lei Changtian said, "That's basically what it is. If you don't understand anything, I'll explain it in detail." Zhuxiaoduo and Zhuxiaonian were completely confused and didn't know what was going on. "We don't understand at all." The two of them said in unison. "What the hell are you talking about? Are you asking you to make an outline? Even if you're writing an outline for a novel, it doesn't seem to be as simple as you'd. Although there are geniuses who never use an outline when writing novels, such as Wind Conquers the World. But can you be compared to that person's brain? The more detailed situation is more or less like this. About 200 years ago, the Wang family obtained a mysterious secret record. It looks like a very, very ancient thing. No one knows how many years it has existed in the world, and there are a few sentences in it that look very much like a description of a prophecy. This secret record is very magical. All the words are very ordinary on it. However, as long as one sentence is interpreted correctly, these few words will light up on the secret record, and the other words together that are not interpreted correctly will remain dark. This is an extremely magical phenomenon. What's the content? Zhuxiaoduo asked. Lei Changtian pondered and recalled. The content is the great calamity descends upon the world, the extinction of all life, destruction followed by establishment, defeat followed by success. The sun and the moon pass through the sky, ice and fire are of the same origin, the hidden dragon rises out of the sea, the phoenix dances in the 9 heavens. In the world of great fortune, the prodigies gather, the dragon veins rise, the heavenly fortune descends to the mortal world. On the day of phoenix's rush, the hidden dragon rises out of the abyss. At the time of extreme yang, the earth turns upside down, heaven and earth, the universe, gather at one pass. If one person obtains it, even his chickens and dogs will ascend to heaven. The blood of the dragon's luck is sacrificed in front of the door. The glory of 10,000 generations will be passed down forever. It took the Wang family a full 200 years to decipher these few sentences, and in the eyes of the higher-ups of the Wang family, this matter is inseparable from the dragons fighting for the dragon veins. As long as they can maximize the use of this great opportunity that fell from the sky, the Wang family will be able to ascend to heaven. However, this is all that is recorded in the secret record, and there is no more specific way to do it. Most of the content was blurry and unclear. Probably a few decades ago, the Wang family met a master, and through this master's interpretation, the content became much clearer. Chapter 1131. All these years, the Wang family did not give up on deciphering this secret record. As time passed and the world changed, more and more of the contents of this secret record were verified. The higher-ups of the Wang family felt that the time for the secret record to be fully deciphered was coming. As time passed, the astral souls continent suddenly ushered in the year of an explosion of geniuses. Countless geniuses appeared like a geyser. Then, in the second half of this year, the Wang family finally deciphered the entire contents of this prophecy. When the great calamity descends, all life will be exterminated. This refers to the calamity that destroyed the world. Destruction, establishment, defeat, and success. This is the current tripartite balance of the star witchcraft Tao. Sun and moon shock the heavens, ice and fire come from the same origin, hidden dragon emerges from the sea, phoenix dances in the 9 heavens. These 4 sentences should be interpreted to the two of you. Cultivation techniques and Xiaonian's Phoenix Meridian Soul Rush. After that, in the era of great fortune, prodigies will gather together. This is exactly what happened in the past 2 years. Then, the Dragon Meridian will rise, and heavenly fortune will descend to the mortal world. This is naturally referring to the Dragon Meridian incident, and heavenly fortune will descend on the mortal world. On the day of extreme yang, the world will turn upside down. This should be referring to this year's day of extreme yang, which is the 25th of May. And this day is also the day when the Dragon Meridian incident takes place. Heaven and earth will gather at this stage. If one person obtains it, all his fowls and dogs will ascend to heaven. This means that on that day, the power of heaven and earth can gather all this fortune on one person. As long as one succeeds, all his fowls and dogs will ascend to heaven. As for the blood of Dragon Meridian incident, before the sacrificial ceremony, at least in the Wang family's understanding, it refers to you, Xiao Duo, being recognized as the heir of the blood of Dragon Meridian incident. As long as your blood is sacrificed, the Wang family will be able to obtain this opportunity. From then on, the glory of the Wang family will be passed down for eternity. Lei Zhangtian said, that's all the content that the Wang family had found a master to decipher. However, because their contact was very secretive, even the Wang family's Tao integration stage experts are not clear about the master's specific identity. They only know that this person exists. All in all, the Wang clan firmly believes in this prophecy, which is why they have made such a series of moves. This was because the carrier of this prophecy had another very magical effect. As long as the contents of the secret record were interpreted correctly, the corresponding sentence would light up. Previously, as they were unable to determine who the carrier of the dragon vein was, the last few sentences did not light up no matter how they interpreted it. But last year, as your name became more and more famous, it finally reached the ears of the Wang family. Once, they unconsciously interpreted your name, Zhuo Duo, and the relevant words lit up. At this point, after reading your name, the entire prophecy carrier shone like a light bulb. There was not a single word that was gloomy anymore. This phenomenon strengthened the confidence of the Wang family's upper echelons. Do you understand now? Under such circumstances, not to mention the Wang family, as long as they know the contents of the prophecy, no one will doubt it. And as long as you, Zhuoxiao Duo, are sacrificed during the Dragon Vein Scramble, the Wang family can let their prodigy disciples reap all the benefits of this Dragon Vein Scramble and the heaven and earth opportunity. From then on, they will achieve meteoric success. Perhaps they will be even more impressive than the minister and the emperor. No matter what the final outcome is, at least this hope is the greatest hope of the Wang family. They will not regret it even if they die 100 times. Therefore, for the Wang family, everything has already reached the final stage. As long as you, Zhuoxiao Duo, are sacrificed, everything will be over. They will wait for the great success. The Wang family has already made all the other preparations. Therefore, they used the series of events such as killing Qin Fangyang and digging up He Yuanyue's grave to lure you to the capital. In this way, with your character, you will definitely come. And as long as you come, you will never be able to escape from the Wang family's control. As long as you come, you will either die here or the Wang family will be destroyed by your hands. Other than that, there will be no third way to make you leave. However, in the Wang family's judgment, even if you are a prodigy and have extraordinary strength, you are still a junior from the border. You have no status, no background, and no support. What is there to fear? In fact, if not for the minister's strong intervention after Qin Fangyang's death, the Wang family would have acted even more unscrupulously. They would have even attacked you directly. After all, on the surface, the two sides cannot be reconciled. Only one side can be completely destroyed. And if anyone were to judge, it would only be you, a junior, who will die. After that, no one would pursue this matter. This is also where the confidence of the descendants of the god of war comes from. Basically, this is the Wang family's plan. Do you understand now? Do you understand? Lei Changtian finished his explanation. Zhuoxiao Duo heaved a deep sigh. He had already guessed most of the reasons and even the process from what he had encountered during this period of time. However, he didn't know the most crucial part. He really shouldn't have let his grandfather search his soul like this. He really should have interrogated that Wang family Dao integration expert personally. Apart from being more specific and concrete, the basic framework and ideas were actually similar to what he had guessed. It had nothing to do with the main point. Grandpa, what's really important now is how did they plan this? Who are they collaborating with? Apart from the Wang family, who is that master of deciphering? How can he decipher the secret records that the Wang family has been unable to decipher for 200 years? What more specific plans do they have? How do they want to deal with this when the time comes? Zhuoxiao Duo said in distress, "These are the most important things. I know these things are important, but they are not in the memories of that guy's divine spirit." Lei Changtan was also very distressed. Let's put it this way. The two Dao integration experts of the Wang family are like the stabilizing pillars of the family. And these kinds of people usually don't participate in the family's decision-making. They only stand out to protect the family at critical moments, or facilitate some important goal. That's enough. It's not that they don't have the right to know these things. It's just that these things are no longer important to people of their level. Their status has already been determined. They only need to know that this matter is very important to the family and that they know the general process. Everything else is not important. They only need to know that at certain critical moments, they have to take action. That's all. And now, that's exactly what they are doing. It's the same for your life and death. Today, their final goal is to capture you and completely control your life and death. Even though their Wang family wants to sacrifice you, they need to do it at a suitable time. It can't be early, it can't be late. You have to die on that day. Do you understand? So now, the first key they have to ensure is that you can't leave Shangjing. And to achieve this goal, the safest way is naturally to capture you. That's why the two of them are here today. That's all. The so-called intervention of the Wang family, Shen family, and other families is just a minor detail. Or rather, it's just a smokescreen to capture you. Lei Changtan said with a hint of melancholy. As for the many details of this matter, how it was carried out, who was in charge, how the needle was threaded, and even how the venue was set up, these are completely irrelevant to these old antiques. They are completely unimportant. The only useful information is that in the entire Wang family, there are only 2 people who are in charge of this matter or qualified to participate in the operation of this matter. Lei Changtan suddenly paused and revealed an embarrassed expression. Do you know who they are? Zuoxiao Duo immediately asked. One is the head of the family, Wang Han, and the other is the head's younger brother, Wang Zhong, who is recognized as the brains of the Wang family. Apart from these 2 people, no one else knows the details. Zuoxiao Duo slapped his thigh and said, Grandfather, this is the really useful information. Lei Changtian coughed twice and rolled his eyes. The way this kid slapped his thigh was really like his father. And his tone was also like his father's. I really want to beat him up. So what you're saying is that I've been busy for half a day and have said a basket of unimportant things, but not a single important thing? Is that what you mean? You deserve to be beaten up. You deserve to be spanked. The kind of spanking that blossoms. Zuoxiao Duo breathed a sigh of relief and thought to himself, fortunately, I asked a few more questions. Grandfather's brain really makes me worried. He said a basket of unimportant things, but almost forgot the important things. It was fortunate that the old man's cultivation level was so high that it shocked the world. Otherwise, what would have happened? No, his cultivation base is shocking, but his brain is not good. Who knows, he might get into big trouble. I have to be careful, I have to be careful. Now that we know who the specific target is, things will be much easier. Zuoxiao Duo said excitedly, I'm just afraid that we don't have a specific target. Now that we have a confirmed target, we can complete this task in one night. What do you want to do, kid? Lei Changtian stared at him. Grandfather, you're a layman. Although we're in a society ruled by law, and nothing can be accomplished without rules, and power and influence are the rules, in the eyes of cultivators who have entered the Tao, isn't the power of the fist the real reason? The task that I want to complete can be said to be quite difficult for the 2 of us. It requires hundreds of plans, thousands of calculations, and a lot of luck. It's easy to lose everything. But for you, it's a piece of cake. Zuoxiao Duo flattered him eagerly. Grandfather, as long as you personally go and capture Wang Han and Wang Zhong, then we can interrogate them or search their souls. Everything will be clear, won't it? Zuoxiao Duo already wanted to win without doing anything. His grandfather was the fiend ancestor. Such a trivial matter was a piece of cake for him. It was as easy as blowing off dust. Chapter 1132. Zuoxiao Duo said eagerly. Of course, if you want to save some trouble, you can help us take down all the Wang family and the families that colluded with them to do this. You don't have to worry about killing people. Just leave this kind of rough work to me. As long as you can control all of them, I will naturally kill them one by one with my sword. Then we will have our revenge. How easy and pleasant it will be. There will be a lot of benefits. As a 10,000-year-old aristocratic family, they must have a lot of wealth. The 3 of us will definitely return with a bountiful harvest. 2 piles of gold will not be a problem. The more Zuoxiao Duo spoke, the more excited he became. He deeply felt the benefits of being the 3rd generation. He didn't have to do anything. He just had to lie at home and wait for his enemies to be captured. He would wake up, wash his face, brush his teeth, and lazily go out. He would treat it as if he was practicing his swordsmanship. He would tie those people up and line up to kill them one by one, then he would have his revenge. It was just that easy. This was a textbook example of lying down to win a life. Otherwise, he would be willing to be the 2nd generation. This was a risk-free and profitable job. It wasn't tiring at all. He just had to drink some tea and be done with it. My life seems to have reached its peak. It doesn't matter how long this kind of life lasts. For thousands of years, I'll enjoy it and forget to go back. I'll forget my worries and get what I want. I'll enjoy it so much that I won't think of home. Zhuoxiao Duo narrowed his eyes. It felt good. Lei Changtian widened his eyes. What the hell? You mean, I'll go out and capture them? Then I'll capture them and search their souls for interrogation? After the interrogation, I'll go and capture them? I'll capture these thousands of people, line them up, tie them up, and make them kneel here? Then you'll come out and kill them one by one? That's it? Then you'll be able to get your hands on a mountain of gold. The demon ancestor's voice was very strange. How did it become my business? That's exactly what I mean. However, it's not just me alone, but the three of us. Think about it, we're not targeting just the Wang clan alone. We're targeting a few clans, so how can we not reap a lot of benefits? Zhuoxiao Duo said matter-of-factly, Grandpa, you see, this is the most direct result. Nian Nian and I won't be in any danger. We won't have to go out and take risks. We won't have to fight with others. We won't be killed or sacrificed to the gods. We'll be safe and you won't have to worry about us, right? And for an old man like you, it's not a difficult thing, and it's not that tiring. Just think of it as an old man going out for a walk after breakfast to loosen his muscles and bones, digest the food, and exercise his body. Well, morning exercise. Right? Isn't that right? Such a small matter is nothing to you. Zhuoxiao Duo said matter-of-factly, besides, you're my grandfather. Isn't it only right for you to avenge me? That's right. If I don't ask you for help, who else can I ask for help? Right? Why would we bother others when we can do it ourselves? If you ask me, if you don't help me, your dear grandson, then it would be strange. Lei Changtian nodded and then couldn't help but scratch his head. You're right. It's only right for me to avenge my dear grandson. Well, why do I feel like something's not right? What's wrong with that? Nian Nian Cat and I are your treasures. Zhuoxiao Duo said, Grandpa, please help us. Zhuoxiao Nian said, Grandpa, please help us. Lei Changtian scratched his head. He was a little confused. He stared blankly for a while and then turned to look at Zhuoxiao Duo. Then, I'm done. What are you going to do? Zhuoxiao Duo said in surprise, What am I going to do? Didn't I just say it? Didn't I take charge of the whole situation and kill these people to avenge my teacher? The last and most important dirty work has to be done by me. Lei Changtian said angrily, Can't I kill these people? Can I kill them? Do I need you to kill them? Zhuoxiao Duo said, Grandpa, think about it carefully. If you kill them yourself, you're just enforcing justice on behalf of the heavens. If you don't, it's just a matter of convenience. But no matter how you look at it, you're not avenging my teacher. You're not justified. We still have to figure out the logic of this. Zhuoxiao Duo said earnestly, Grandpa, we're here to avenge, not to enforce justice on behalf of the heavens. Lei Changtian felt more and more confused. But, suddenly, this job is all mine? But why does it sound so reasonable? What is this saying? The devil ancestor shook his head. Why should I do this? I have to do all the work. It doesn't feel right. And I don't even have a proper title. Why did you do this? Zhuoxiao Duo was surprised. You're my grandpa, my biological grandpa. If you don't help me, who will? You're my grandpa. You're helping your grandson out in doing something small. Do you want extra remuneration? Do you want us to give you a salary? Lei Changtian said angrily, Who said anything about remuneration? When did I say that? Then you mean, you're my grandpa, so you should do all these things? You don't need remuneration? Yes, it's very necessary. It's just that you don't need remuneration. Lei Changtian really felt that his brain was turning to mush. He was getting more and more confused. Okay, then I understand. Originally, when I was going to confiscate the property, I was going to split the profits into 3 portions. Since you didn't want to do so, I won't force you. Just treat it as your reward to us. As the saying goes, one doesn't dare to refuse a gift from an elder. Zhuoxiao Duo said happily. Zhuoxiao Duo said these words with absolute confidence and confidence. Grandpa doesn't want to help me? What a joke. Is there a need to say this? Grandpa is just helping his grandson out a little. How can he have the cheek to share the profits of other people's children? This doesn't make sense. Saying that one doesn't dare to refuse a gift from an elder. This is the end, the end. Lei Changtian felt his brain was in a mess. He held his head and said, Wait, let me think. Zuoxiao Duo was puzzled. I've already explained it so clearly. Why can't you understand? This shouldn't be. This doesn't make sense. What are you thinking? Grandpa, you're acting so strange. Zuoxiao Duo said in confusion, I just don't understand. Which family doesn't step up when the younger generation is bullied? As the saying goes, when the younger generation is beaten up, the older generation will step up. Isn't this the current situation of the world? Why is it that when it comes to us? Why are you suddenly refusing? You've been in seclusion all this time and didn't even know about my existence. There's nothing to say. Now that you've come out of seclusion and reappeared in the world, why can't you stand up for me? Lei Changtian frowned and thought, I'm not refusing. Zuoxiao's expression changed immediately. He cried and said, Grandpa, you don't love me. Zuoxiaonian also frowned and asked pitifully, Grandpa, why don't you help us? Well, although Zuoxiaonian didn't have any dirty thoughts like Zuoxiao Duo, her thoughts were habitually following Zuoxiao's. After so many years, she had long been used to it. Although Zuoxiao's words were fallacious, they were the most common things in the secular world. It could be said that his words were reasonable. At this time, Zuoxiaonian naturally followed Zuoxiao's tone. Lei Changtian was completely dumbfounded. This still can't stop trembling? Bai Yun Duo kept transmitting her voice in his ear. Don't interfere, please don't interfere again. Zuoxiao Duo asked his grandpa for help with tears in his eyes. Why don't you do it? Why don't you help me? Let me think. Lei Changtian held his head. Bai Yun Duo seemed to have a point. If I could interfere, then when my master came to Shangjing, he would have directly arrested all these people and waited for junior brother to behead them. Wouldn't it be over? Why would I need you? To put it bluntly, Bai Yunduo's words were very rude, but they were very reasonable. Wasn't it to train junior sister and junior brother to deal with half of the matter and leave the other half behind? Besides, what's the point of doing everything directly? If you don't train in the mainland, do you really want to go to the battlefield to experience life and death? Wouldn't that be more dangerous? Are you able to get rid of all of little Duo Yu's enemies in this lifetime? Then what's the point of him cultivating? From now on, he can just lie down and be a salted fish. When Lei Changtian heard this, he seemed to have understood. When he turned his head again, he saw Zuoxiao Duo half lying on the sofa. His body was so lazy that it seemed to have no bones. His hands were behind his head, and his legs were crossed. Well, he really looked like a standard salted fish. It seemed that after this kid knew his identity, he had started to win by lying down. What a standard way to lie down. Bai Yun Duo kept complaining through telepathy in the air. I told you not to do anything, not to do anything. Even if you want to do something, it's enough to do it secretly. You can't do it personally. You loved your grandson, so you wanted to leave a good impression. You wanted to go down. Now look. What my master is most afraid of is that junior brother's salted fish personality suddenly exploding. Once there's a strong person around him, he won't do anything even if he's beaten to death. To him, there's no other choice. Now that you've shown up, you've confirmed his identity as a third-generation cultivator. Won't he directly enter salted fish mode? If junior brother didn't know your identity, it would have been fine. But now he clearly knows that you're the demon ancestor, the strongest person in the 3 continents that no one dares to provoke. Now look, isn't he starting to become a salted fish? Look at what you've done. If master and mistress find out. The title of this chapter is just like what I'm doing now. It's a bit confusing. From a long time ago, when Xiao Duo encountered something, many of his brothers were looking forward to it. Fathers should do something, mothers should do something. I'm thinking about this. Do I need to write it down? If I write it down, will you think that I'm preaching? It's a bit confusing. I need to sort it out. Chapter 1133. Bai Yun Duo was really anxious. Otherwise, he wouldn't have spoken so rudely. This Lord Devil ancestor was really incapable of accomplishing anything but good at ruining things. Look at what he had done now. He had turned the tense and indignant journey of revenge into a spring outing and a wantonly accumulating wealth. However, Zhou Xiaoduo's thinking was completely right. There was a way to save physical strength and time. Why did he have to make a fuss over nothing? Why did he have to spend so much effort? Wouldn't that be like taking off his pants to fart? Anyway, his purpose was only revenge. He had asked someone to help him take revenge with his own hands. The result was the same. Wasn't it revenge? Was it not helping Li Chenglong, Long Yuxing, and the others taking action with him? If we didn't have a grandfather, then I met Uncle Nan by chance and asked Uncle Nan to help me deal with the enemy. Was that not revenge? Using tyrannical force was revenge. Using scheming was revenge. Using group wisdom and group effort to exchange benefits was also revenge. Then, using family ties to achieve the goal of revenge was also revenge. Was it not revenge? That was outrageous. Since Grandpa was in front of him, why should he give up what was close at hand and seek what was far away? Why do I have to go through painstaking efforts to take revenge? Why do I have to take the risk of being half dead and covered in wounds? What was wrong with this logic? Lei Changtian covered his head and didn't know what to do for a moment. Suddenly, the Lord Devil ancestor lay on the sofa, frowning and groaning. Why did I suddenly have a headache? It seems that the old injury has relapsed. I'll lie down for a while. Is there a bedroom? I'd better find a quiet place to discuss with Bai Yun Duo. My brain is a mess now. No matter how I think about it, something is wrong. Zhou Xiaoyan hurriedly asked with concern, Grandpa, where are you feeling unwell? I have a lot of good medicine here. It's okay. I'll be fine after a while. It's an old injury of more than 10,000 years. Ordinary medicine is useless. Lei Changtian hurriedly refused. Under Zhou Xiaoyan's worried gaze, he entered the guest room and slammed the door shut. Outside, Zhou Xiaoduo was lying on the sofa, swinging his legs and singing, Being invincible is so lonely. Being invincible is so empty. Eating and waiting for death is so blissful. Winning without doing anything is so refreshing. Oh. Obviously, Zhou Xiaoduo was really happy at this moment. Zhou Xiaoyan looked at Zhou Xiaoduo anxiously and hesitantly. Finally, she pouted and asked, Doggy, you really want a salted fish? You haven't even ascended yet. Zhou Xiaoduo grinned, winked, and sighed. I'm just afraid that Teacher Qin and the old principal will wait too long. If they can't wait and reincarnate, they won't be able to see me avenge him. Lei Changtian shrank into his room and set up several layers of soundproof barriers in one breath. His expression was unprecedentedly complicated. He felt that he had made a huge mistake and ruined some of his plans. What should he do? Bai Yun Duo, who was hiding in the sky, was completely anxious. This demon ancestor was simply a super shit-stirrer who couldn't do anything right. The situation was out of control. Now that he had caused it to this point, what should they do next? How could they continue? Master and mistress were worried about this change, so they didn't reveal their identity, background, cultivation, and strength. They completely blended into the ordinary. You, on the other hand, exposed everything the moment you showed up. If we could intervene directly, you wouldn't have a chance to do it. It's just the Wang family. Either Xiaohu or I would be able to wipe them out instantly. Look at the situation now. How am I going to explain it to master and mistress? Bai Yun Duo was so anxious that she stomped her feet in the air. Her elegant demeanor was gone. If Lei Changtian completely triggered little junior brother's salted fish attribute, Bai Yun Duo guaranteed that her master and mistress would flip out when they came back. They would flip out extremely. When that time came, this demon ancestor would most likely be beaten into a demon pig. His entire body would swell up, and he would have a pig's head and pig's face. Aren't I just concerned about the child? Lei Changtian defended himself weakly. The child is being bullied by the adults outside. Are we supposed to just watch from the sidelines? They don't care about the child. I'm just a distant relative. Distant relative means that you're only showing your face when you're in your 20s, right? Bai Yun Duo said mercilessly. How dare you? Lei Changtian flew into a rage out of humiliation. Junior, how can you say that? Even mistress doesn't dare to talk to me like that. Bai Yun Duo choked for a moment. After a long while, she nodded. All right, I'll find mistress to talk to you. I also want to know what mistress will say to you. Don't. However, Bai Yun Duo had already left in a fit of anger. He did something wrong, but he didn't allow others to talk about it. Now, he was even using his seniority to pressure others. I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. It's up to you now. Lei Zhangtian heaved a long sigh. He took out his phone and dialed his daughter's number. He murmured, Fine, I'll say it myself. This couple doesn't care about their child. Are they in the right? They don't care about the child after having it. It's better not to have it. His finger hovered over the button for a long time. Finally, he gritted his teeth, closed his eyes, and pressed the button. Dao League Mainland. Sanqing Holy Mountain. Taoist Yun stood up from the ruins with his face covered in dust. He said sullenly, Sister-in-law, you've been sparring for a few days now. My old bones have been torn apart by you 14 or 15 times. It's about time. Wu Yuding stood with her sword in hand and said with a smile, Big brother Yun, what are you talking about? I feel that I have benefited a lot from this time's seclusion. I have gained a lot of understanding regarding the great Tao of martial arts, but I still need the tempering and stimulation of battle formations before I can truly comprehend and integrate it into myself. But this kind of comprehension can only be understood and not explained. We are all experts in cultivation, so how can we not understand this simple logic? Besides, we can also enlighten all of you through battle. I'm just worried that you won't be able to comprehend it in a short period of time. That's why I'm sparring a few more times. You'll occasionally be hit by me when you're distracted. However, it's still much easier than fighting the demons in the future, right? I'm really doing this out of kindness, out of sincerity, out of kindness, and out of sincerity. The faces of the 5 Taoists on the scene were filled with grievances. Easy? Even if the demons really come, they probably won't be as cruel as you. Taoist Yun and Taoist Feng were fine, but Taoist Yu, Taoist Shuang, and Taoist Snow were both sullen and innocent. What does your grudge have to do with us? It really has nothing to do with us. This woman is so cruel with a smile. I can't take it anymore. Sister-in-law, that Xiao Duo who targeted your family has nothing to do with us. In fact, it doesn't even have anything to do with us. Taoist Snow twisted his mouth. He bent over and straightened his thigh, aimed at the broken part and caught it. Then he hurriedly injected a stream of natural essence into it to heal the wound. His wound healed at a visible speed, but the pain he felt during the process wasn't lessened at all. Wu Yuding smiled and said, Brother Snow, what are you talking about? Our sparring session this time has nothing to do with my son and daughter's matters. It's precisely because I want my 5 brothers to experience the grand Tao profundities that we comprehended during closed-door cultivation, and it's for the sake of preparing for the great battle in the future. You must know that even if one's strength is slightly stronger, it might cause one's strength to be insufficient at that time. This slight difference might be the difference between life and death, the difference between life and death. We're all cultivators with some level of cultivation. Little sister's actions are really for the good of you big brothers. Taoist Yu gave a bitter smile and said, Thank you so much, sister-in-law. You're so considerate. Wu Yuding said, You flatter me. We are allies and our friendship is deep. In order to prevent my brothers from feeling aggrieved and resentful when they see the geniuses of other clans and want to destroy them but can't defeat them, I have no choice but to work hard and reluctantly do it. Taoist Snow sighed and said, Sister-in-law, I promise, nothing like that will ever happen again. I'll fight to the death with whoever does that again. As he spoke, Taoist Snow, Taoist Yu, and Taoist Shuang glared at Taoist Feng and Taoist Feng. Their eyes were full of unspeakable resentment. It's all because of you too. I can't even leave after getting beaten up. Both Taoist Feng and Taoist Feng lowered their heads. What the? We didn't want this, but who knew this woman would be so cruel? In this competition, Taoist Feng and Taoist Yun were beaten up the most. It was the kind of ruthlessness where every bone in his body had been broken several times from head to toe. Wu Yuding was merciless. Every time she beat them up, she urged them to recover quickly so that it would be convenient for another round. Taoist Yun acted shamelessly on purpose and refused to have his injured leg fixed. Therefore, Wu Yuding gave him a good beating without giving him a chance to explain. With a broken leg, of course, Wu Yuding would beat him even harder. This time, Zhuo Changlu and his wife came to the Dao League's Three Pure Ones Hall for a visit after settling their affairs in Shangjing. They called it a visit since they hadn't seen each other for many years to improve their relationship. Then, Taoist Thunder and Taoist Lightning really improved their relationship. Zhuo Changlu dragged them to discuss Dao. As for the remaining 5 people, Taoist Thunder arranged good work for them. The 5 of you, spar with my sister-in-law. At the same time, you can experience the aura of the great Dao that my sister-in-law obtained from her seclusion. At the same time, you can help her stabilize her current realm. Then he left with Zhuo Changlu. In the beginning, the 5 of them were full of confidence. You're just a woman. Even if you're the demon ancestor's daughter and the minister's wife, aren't you just a junior? As her big brothers, we'll let you experience what it means to be a senior. Who would have thought that they would discover that Wu Yuding's cultivation had already completely suppressed all of them after exchanging blows with her? They were beaten up miserably. Their so-called demeanor of a senior was all gone. It was only at this point that they realized that the 5 of them had been heartlessly abandoned by their own boss. Big brother and second brother went in to receive benefits, leaving the 5 of them here to let his wife vent her anger. Chapter 1134. Wu Yuding did not seem to know what fatigue was. She would beat anyone she met to death. His fists hit his flesh, his limbs were broken, his internal organs were injured, his body was covered in cuts and bruises, and his body was riddled with scars. None of this was a problem, and he had to repeat it over and over again. Round after round that the cracking sounds were like a nightmare to the 5 Taoists. They could only go up and be beaten up one by one. And they could not gang up on her. Because this was a spar, a discussion of Tao, a friendly interview that the 5 Taoists were so aggrieved that their hearts were about to explode. Especially later on, Wu Yuding, who had gone through a series of fierce battles, actually improved again. When she used her famous ultimate skills, Cold Sword of Mountains and Rivers, Frost Rain and Meteor Shower, the power level was more than 1 level higher than before. When other people's sword light danced, it was basically a series of sword light shooting out. However, when Wu Yuding's sword light started, it was like a series of shining raindrops in the dark night. It was like a meteor that swept wildly in all directions that the sword moves became more and more violent as time went by. Gradually, the quantity changed to the quality, turning raindrops into hailstones. Every raindrop and hailstone contained more or less traces of destructive power. Although Wu Yuding gradually restrained her power during the process of unleashing the sword energy, the sword wounds on the 5 Taoists' bodies only became more painful. Even their souls were hurt. After 3 days of sparring, the 5 Taoists felt as long as 5,000 years. They were not even allowed to rest at night. Later on, the Wind and Cloud Taoists tore off their skin and apologized. But no matter how they apologized, Wu Yuding just ignored them and turned a deaf ear to them. Big brothers, you are thinking too much. I am not here to vent my anger for my son. I am also not here to take revenge for my daughter. I am here to spar. I am very satisfied with the results of this spar. Just for such a big harvest this time, I have to express my gratitude to you, my brothers. We have not seen each other for a long time. I have to take a good look at all of you. These reasons came out of her mouth. None of them were repetitive. After being beaten up for 3 days in a row, the 5 Taoists were completely overwhelmed by the feeling of being unable to escape from the nightmare, which was worse than death. The most important thing was that they couldn't fall out with her. They didn't dare to fall out with her. Her husband was inside, discussing the Tao. This was a huge favor. Could it be that you're enjoying the kindness of others while fighting for your life with his wife? How was this something a human would do? Someone who could do such a thing was not human. Finally, one morning Zhua Changlu, Taoist Thunder, and Taoist Lightning ended their discussion and walked out side by side. The moment the three of them appeared at the training ground, Feng Yun and the other four were so touched that they almost cried. "Boss, you're finally out. We are about to be beaten to death. I've benefited greatly from this Tao discussion. Many thanks to the minister for his generosity. I will never forget this kindness for the rest of my life." Taoist Thunder was very emotional. He even used the word kindness. Although he had been beaten up by Zhua Changlu many times, he had indeed learned a lot. However, the faces of Feng Yun and the other four darkened. There was no need to say anything. Just by hearing the word kindness, they knew that they had been beaten up for nothing. Not only could they not mention it, but it would also remind Boss Thunder that he owed someone a favor. "You're welcome," Zhua Zhanglu Xuan said elegantly. "Even without me, it's only a matter of time before Brother Lei gains some insights." Taoist Thunder shook his head and smiled bitterly. What Zhua Changlu said might be possible, but Taoist Thunder did not dare to say that he could really gain enlightenment. When it came to comprehending and experiencing things, it had always been about fate. Without a bit of luck, it really wasn't something that could be easily obtained. "Boss, Brother Zhua, I'll go into seclusion first." Taoist Lightning had obviously gained a lot of enlightenment. He was a little impatient now. Especially when he saw the 5 people outside who were almost beaten into pigheads, he did not dare to stay. After saying that, he hurriedly left, seizing the time to turn his enlightenment into his own foundation. The Tao League and the Astral Souls will always be allies. Taoist Thunder said word by word. "Of course." Zhua Changlu smiled. "Brother Thunder, we still have to speed up the Tao League's no-fly zone. I've been having a lot of sudden inspiration recently, and I have a vague feeling that the tide is about to rise. It seems that time is not as optimistic as we thought." "I understand," Taoist Thunder said in a low voice. "From today onwards, we will personally go out to take a look and supervise the construction of the Tao League's no-fly zone." Zhua Changlu smiled reservedly. "We can also take a look at the Astral Soul's no-fly zone and the Umno Alliance's no-fly zone. Both of them are almost done." "All right." Taoist Thunder turned to look at Wu Yuding. "Sister-in-law, you've worked hard these few days." Wu Yuding put away her sword, rubbed her hands and smiled. "Brother Thunder, you're too polite. We're all allies, it's only right that we help each other." Feng Yun and the other Taoists were speechless. Her words were really fucking good. "And Boss Thunder, are you thanking her for beating us too hard? If there's nothing else." Before Taoist Thunder could finish his sentence, he was interrupted by Wu Yuding. "Boss Thunder, how can there be nothing else? Now that we're done with the important matters, it's time to talk about the private matters. The Tao League has violated the favor writ twice and attacked my son. Shouldn't they give us an explanation for this?" Wu Yuding said in a low voice. As the saying goes, one can change their face faster than one can flip a book. This was probably it, right? The 6 swords of the Tao League were all dumbfounded, including Taoist Thunder. "Didn't we go in to discuss Tao and leave you outside to deal with this matter? What? You've already beaten people to death dozens of times, and you're telling me it's not over yet? You want an explanation? Besides, after those 2 incidents, didn't I already give you an explanation? You sent Yun Zhonghu to blackmail us again and again. What else do you want? Why are you asking for an explanation again now?" But their boss had just accepted a huge benefit from Zhua Changlu, and now his wife was asking for an explanation. "Tell me, what should we do about this? Should they learn from Wu Yuding and turn their backs on them? The Tao League would never be able to raise their heads again. What kind of explanation does sister-in-law want? You're a straightforward person. Just say it," Taoist Thunder stuttered. At this time, they would be stabbed regardless of whether they stuck their head out or retracted it. They would definitely have to suffer this attack. "We've been in an alliance for so many years, and we've known each other for so many years. Since Brother Thunder asked personally, I'm naturally embarrassed to go overboard." Wu Yuding said, "I just want Feng Yun and Taoist Thunder's treasure vault." "Impossible." Feng Yun and Taoist Thunder flew into a rage. Sister-in-law. Brothers with you control your wife. How can she ask for such a huge sum? Zhuo Changlu smiled. Brothers. Ahem, you think too highly of me. If I could control my master, I wouldn't need you to tell me this. But the main problem is that I'm henpecked. Zhuo Changlu smiled shyly and guiltily. Brothers, I'm not afraid of being laughed at. If henpecked is a disease, I'm afraid I'm already beyond cure. After hearing this, the 6 Tao League members, including Taoist Thunder, leaned back in unison. This sentence was really too fucking speechless. This reason was really enough. I'm henpecked, and I'll admit it to my face. What can you do? What can you do? There was really no other way. Taoist Thunder laughed and said, our Tao League was indeed in the wrong. The Tao League should give sister-in-law an explanation. He pondered for a while and said decisively, how about this? Open all the treasure vaults of the 7 of us, including the main vault of the Tao League, and let sister-in-law wander around in them for 2 hours. Within 2 hours, there won't be anyone else in the treasure vault. Sister-in-law, whatever you want, just go ahead and get it. Even if you really take it all away, our Tao League will accept it. Taoist Thunder's face was full of smiles, and his voice was loud like a bell. The other 5 Taoists widened their eyes subconsciously, as if they were struck by lightning. Zhuo Changlu's gaze also froze, and then he shook his head with a bitter smile. Taoist Thunder's move was really brilliant. I'll let you in with the most honest attitude, and let you take whatever you want. Take as much as you can. But, do you really have the nerve to take it? If you really have the nerve to empty the Tao League's treasure vault, then it would be Wu Yuding deliberately destroying the alliance between the human race and the astral souls and the Tao League. One had to admit that Taoist Thunder's move of using defense as an attack was a beautiful move. Wu Yuding said, okay. She actually agreed immediately. Then the treasure vault was opened. Wu Yuding put her phone in Zhuo Changlu's hand and walked in alone. Taoist Thunder was still full of smiles, as if he didn't hold any grudges. Zhuo Changlu sighed, but his heart was full of sympathy for Taoist Thunder. Taoist Thunder's move could be said to be an upright man's action, and it was also the best choice to deal with the current situation. In such a situation, the person who dealt with it had to consider a lot. Even Zhuo Changlu, who was once known as the 1 meter higher sky, was embarrassed to take too many things after entering. After all, Taoist Thunder had already shown such an attitude, so he couldn't go overboard and slap his face. However, there was only one person who was an exception, and this person was Wu Yuding. The first reason was that Wu Yuding was a woman. She had always done things without caring about the dignity of a man. She would take as much as she wanted, and you couldn't say anything about it. You asked me to go in and take it, but now that I've taken it, you're complaining that I've taken too much? Of course, there was also the second reason. If it was only the first reason, Wu Yuding also needed to consider a lot, and she wouldn't be embarrassed to take too much. However, if the second reason was added, it would be a completely different matter. The second reason was that Wu Yuding wasn't just a woman, she was also a mother. And this time, the main purpose was, my son and daughter were bullied. I'm here to cause trouble, and I'm here to ask for compensation. Otherwise, why would I come? Really, to improve your cultivation? Is there something wrong with my brain? Chapter 1135. Moreover, Wu Yuding didn't have much of a concept in her mind, nor did she have any idea of stopping that. Even if you only hit my son with a finger, I want you to compensate me with the entire Tao League. What's more, you almost killed my son. At that time, I was still in seclusion. How dare you bully my son while I couldn't come out? With such a huge grudge, the Tao League can't be justified if it doesn't bleed. Everything that I took was compensation for my son and daughter. This concerns my son and daughter's cultivation prospects and cultivation resources. That therefore, Wu Yuding would never complain about having too much. If possible, Wu Yuding wouldn't mind at all. She would bring back resources for her son and daughter to break through to the saint level, or even the level above that. Unfortunately, the Tao League didn't have that much. Compared to her son and daughter's happiness and future, what was her face? Wu Yuding entered the treasury. Zhuanglu and Taoist Thunder were chatting outside while waiting for the others. At this delicate moment that the phone that Wu Yuding handed to Zhuanglu rang. Zhuanglu looked at it and saw the words "old man" on it. It was flickering non-stop. So it was this little bastard. Zhuanglu didn't want to pick up this call, but after thinking for a long time, he still picked it up. What's the matter? He conveniently set up a soundproof barrier. The Thunder Taoist was a little speechless. Whose call was it? Why was it so sneaky? Mistress? Raindrop? Bus. Lei Changtian's voice was full of surprise and suddenly changed to flattery. Boss. Hee, I didn't expect you to pick up the call yourself. Zhuanglu's face darkened. Not only do I have to pick up the call myself, but I also have to go to the toilet myself. Boss, you're wise and mighty. Love what you do. Lei Changtian chuckled. Raindrop isn't beside you? No, she's busy. Are you looking for her? You'll have to wait for 4 hours. Zhuanglu said sternly, Why don't you wait? Ahem, I can tell you about this. You'll know about it sooner or later anyway. Lei Changtian coughed and said carefully, Well, I'm in Shangjing right now. Nianu, Xiao Duo, and I are together. What? Zhuanglu was stunned when he heard this. He frowned and said unhappily, What are you doing there? The tone of this sentence was very harsh, and there was also a sense of condescension. Cough, 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 I just had nothing to do, so I wandered around. Cough, cough. Right, I came to visit my grandson, my granddaughter. Hee. Hearing Zhuanglu's long-lost tone of voice, Lei Changtian was inexplicably flustered and hurriedly explained. His heart began to beat like a drum, and he stuttered a little. There was a buzzing sound in his head, and he immediately felt dizzy. I'm not scared. I can't be scared of him. He's my son-in-law, that Lei Changtian kept reminding himself in his heart, but the more he reminded himself, the more scared he became. The more scared he became, the more trembling he became. 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 Just say it. Why are you calling me? Zhuanglu asked calmly, What is it? Does it have to do with the children? What did you do? Lei Changtian panicked. Boss, I didn't do anything. I really don't dare to do anything. I accidentally exposed my identity, and then I accidentally killed 2 Dao integration stage super mighty figures of the Wang family in front of Xiao Duo. After that, Xiao Duo became lazy and wanted to win his life without doing anything. I don't think you can blame me for this. Zhuanglu's face darkened, and he took a deep breath. On the other side of the phone, Lei Changtian, who was all too familiar with his boss, instinctively covered his ears. Tell me, what else can you do? A thunderous roar rang out, almost shattering the demon ancestor's eardrums. Lei Changtian shuddered, and his phone fell onto the bed. He suddenly remembered that he could just ignore the call. The phone could bring people closer, but it could also bring them further. However, after thinking about it, he still didn't dare to do so. He plucked up his courage, stretched out a finger, and pressed the hands-free button with lightning speed. That's when Changlu's furious voice rushed out. You haven't been exposed for more than 20 years. You only appeared for a second, and you're exposed? What the hell are you doing? I asked you to look after the child, and this is the result you gave me? You're really good at ruining things. A series of earth-shattering roars came one after another. Lei Changtian was like a duck that had been struck dumb by lightning. He listened to the roars from the phone in a daze, and his body couldn't help but tremble like a cicada in winter. Finally, he couldn't help but defend himself. My identity. Wasn't my identity exposed long ago? When I was in the Omno Alliance, Xiao Duo and I already knew. Exposed long ago. You're so great, aren't you? That's not what I meant. You still dare to talk back. What the hell? Don't go too far. Lei Changtian exploded. You're what? Zhuanglu's voice suddenly became a little fierce, but it couldn't be heard if one didn't pay attention. I'm the child's grandfather. In the end, Lei Changtian didn't dare to say, I'm your father-in-law. Although he really wanted to say it, he really wanted to show off his majesty. Unfortunately, he had accumulated too much power in the past, and he didn't dare to say it. So what if you're the child's grandfather? Zhuchanglu's voice suddenly became arrogant again. So you can harm the child, right? Have you forgotten that you almost caused little Duo's death before, right? Just tell me if you did or not. Lei Changqian's face turned red. I'm just afraid that you'll spoil the child. Then what are you doing now? We're spoiling the child? We're spoiling the child? Can you stop lying through your teeth? I'm not lying. I saw that the child was in danger. How could I not do something? Tell me, if it were you, would you not do something? If it were me, I would do something too. I would definitely do something, but I wouldn't do it all. I would only do it secretly to make sure that Xiao Duo and Xiao Nian's lives are not in danger. Can't you do it secretly? Don't you have a sense of propriety? You're the devil ancestor, the devil ancestor. Where did all your years of cultivation go? Zhuchanglu said angrily. Lei Changtian was sweating profusely, but somehow, he felt comforted. In the past, boss always said, "Where did all your years of cultivation go?" At least this time, he didn't scold me so harshly. I'm comforted. What's the situation now? Nothing. Tell me honestly, how bad is it? Tell me. It's like this. Xiao Duo begged me to search the souls of the Wang family and catch the mastermind. Then, I'll kidnap him and kill him, to avenge his master, and the treasures of the other families. I said I don't want it. I'll give it all to the child. Zhuchanglu almost fainted. What? You're doing all the work. What's he doing? He's waiting at home. Otherwise, wouldn't he call me grandpa for nothing? Waiting? He's waiting? You're doing all the work? Seems like it. How did you do it? Lei Changtian said, I haven't done it yet. Boss, what do you think? Should I do? What should I do? Zhuchanglu was stunned. What should I do? You're asking me what to do? Do you really want to do it like this? I just feel that, as elders, we also need to stand up for our children. We can't just watch our children be helpless. We clearly have the ability to change the situation with a single move. Why should we watch our children risk their lives? Lei Changtian suddenly felt a rush of anger. He spoke more fluently and loudly, Don't interrupt me. Don't interrupt me. I'm just angry. This time, you have to let me finish. If you interrupt me, I'll vent my anger. Zhuchanglu didn't say anything. If you want to say it, just say it. It's rare for second brother to explode today. I have to let him explode and then kill him in one fell swoop. Otherwise, he'll always feel that he has some ability that he hasn't used yet. If he really awakens the Mount Tai attribute, things will be really difficult to handle. Look at other people. After beating the young, the big one comes out. After beating the big one, the old one comes out. After beating the old one, an even older one comes out. Why can't our family do the same? Lei Changtian was really agitated. He spoke whatever came to his mind. It was all from the bottom of his heart. That's usually the case for villains. Only cannon fodder would do that. Our child is taking revenge alone. Facing such a powerful force, how can he beat them? The two of you can solve the problem by talking, but you have to torture our child to death. How can you bear to do that? Is this what a father would do? The more Lei Changtian spoke, the more confident he felt. Isn't it just catching a few people for our child? Isn't it just killing a few people for our child? Isn't it just doing something for our child? Our child is suffering so much now. It's so difficult and tiring. As her father, why don't you feel sorry for her? Even if you don't feel sorry for her, I do. Lei Changtian said agitatedly, but the two of you keep using training as an excuse. You only care about yourself and have fun. You don't care about the life and death of your child. Isn't the child your biological child? Do the two of you even have a heart? Are you done? I'm done. What's wrong? Lei Changtian felt very confident. I've been listening to you for a long time, and this is all you can say? Fortunately, I was the one who raised Rainy. If she was with you, I don't know how much she would be spoiled by you. Look at your awareness. Zhuo Chenglu scolded. Can you see the big picture? Do you know what's good for our child? Chapter 1136. I. Ting Er and I. Stuff. Please call her Rainy. Don't change my daughter's name. Do you believe that I will fall out with you? We have raised the child since he was young. Don't you know what kind of temperament he has? We worked so hard to hide his identity and let him fight on his own to experience the hardships of the world. But why can't you let the child have an easier time? If this is a peaceful world, I can naturally let him die like a salted fish. He doesn't even need to practice martial arts. Even if my lifespan comes to an end, I can still bring my son back in the next reincarnation and raise him until he dies. Over and over again for tens of thousands of years. Zhuo Chenglu exploded. But what time is it now? Don't you know? Don't you know? Without power, he is just an ant that can't be protected at all times. Even I may not know when I will die in the next battle. If the child doesn't work hard, how can he live a long life and stay in the human world? As for the Wang family, why don't I interfere? But what do you know? You are the one who only knows how to spoil. Let's put it this way. According to what you said, you've done everything for the child. Then, I'll give you a very simple example. When the child is just starting to understand and know how to count, there's a question that asks, what's 5 plus 4? Who doesn't know it is 9? Who doesn't know? The child who just knows how to count doesn't know. You are so powerful that you can naturally write the answer for him before the exam and fill in the answer of 9. But if you do that, what will the child learn? What will he gain? What benefits will it bring him? Of course, I can clear all obstacles for Xiao Duo and Xiao Nian. If anyone dares to look at my son, I will destroy that person's family. Is that a problem for me? But what will happen after I do that? I can cover the Astral Souls continent. I can also cover the Umno Alliance continent. I can also cover the Dao League continent. I can cover the entire 3 continents. But even if I can cover them, accidents are everywhere. Unless you hang the child on your belt every day, you will never be at ease. How did Taoist Lei's son die? Until now, have you found the murderer? Could Taoist thunder not protect him? The Flood Witch's great-grandson, who was also known as a genius, died inexplicably in the interior of the Umno Alliance. Even today, the Flood Witch still found the murderer. Isn't the Flood Witch better protected than I am? Do you think that just because you're awesome, no one dares to kill your son? Kill your grandson? Even if you are a saint, your son is useless. You can only accept your fate when he is killed. You may not be able to find the person who killed your son, so you can only suffer in silence. This is the current world, the current Jianghu. Even if 2 people have no enmity with each other, just one more glance on the road can trigger a life and death battle. This kind of battle has no cause and effect. How are you going to find the murderer? Even the murderer himself may not know for the rest of his life that he killed Taoist Lei's son, the Flood Witch's grandson, or the son of the Sky Inspecting Minister. They just met by chance and didn't see eye to eye. They fought each other, the other one, and you died. It's that simple. How awesome do you have to be to monitor hundreds of billions of people in 3 continents? Even if you can monitor them for a while, can you monitor them for a lifetime? Now, the 3 continents are already so chaotic. What's more, in the future, when the Spirit Clan, the Devil Clan, the Demon Clan, the Azura Clan, the Western religious sect, and the Deity Clan return, even people with cultivation like yours and mine may become shrimps. Protection? How can you talk about protection? At that time, there will be as many experts as there are clouds. There will be martial saints, and they will run amok on the continent. Wherever they go, there will be mountains of corpses and seas of blood. Can't you see all this? That's why I have to think of ways to let Xiao Duo enjoy some resources that others can't get without him knowing. At the same time, he can train himself with real guns and bullets. Only when he truly becomes a peerless expert who can suppress an entire race by himself, a super powerful being who can suppress an entire race by himself, will I spoil my children the most? And not use your lame method to raise him into a good-for-nothing. Although Zhuo Chenglu's tone was harsh, his voice wasn't loud. From the moment Xiao Duo came into contact with martial arts until now, I can help him avoid all the troubles. I only need to say a word, and it can be done. It can't be easier. However, if I were to say this out loud, with Xiao Duo's personality, it would be good if he could reach the nascent soul stage at most. Perhaps, he might not even reach the elixir core stage. No matter how optimistic the consideration is, he can't reach the peak of the nascent soul stage. And it's the peak of the nascent soul stage that can suppress the geniuses of the 3 continents. I can arrange a heavenly king-level bodyguard for him from the moment he was born. If I did that, would it be your turn to meddle in the child's growth? What did I meddle in? Aren't you just worried about Wang Feihong's brotherhood? Aren't you just embarrassed to do it? Nonsense. Don't I know the Wang family better than you? Wang Feihong is my brother, my comrade, and his family. After he passed away, I took care of them for more than 2,000 years. I've done my best, and there's nothing to be embarrassed about. Even if Wang Feihong were still here, I'm afraid he would be more determined to destroy the Wang family than I am. There's really nothing to worry about. Even if this matter happened in Yu Xingqian's family, I have no scruples. I will make a move if I have to. There's nothing to say. But this experience is a rare stage in the child's growth. We must let him charge through on his own. If he lies down and becomes a salted fish from now on, when the major tribes return, only pain will greet us. Because with his cultivation base, there's no way he can stay out of it. He must rush to the front lines. When his brothers, friends, classmates, and teachers step onto the battlefield, when they're all bleeding and sacrificing themselves, how can he stay out of it? He must participate. When his comrades die in battle beside him, what will he do? If he doesn't lay a good foundation now, what will happen when the time comes? Use your soybean-sized brain and think about it. How did your 36 demon guards die? You brought your demon guards with you every day, drinking, playing, and causing trouble everywhere. Only when we had no other choice did you train together. What happened next? Even Yu Dongtian's 5 great guards are all at the peak of the Sky Soar realm, and 2 of them have even advanced to the Dao integration stage. Your demon guards are only at the Sky Soar realm. If their cultivation base was just a little bit higher, they wouldn't have been completely wiped out and had to self-destruct to send you out, right? Yu Xingqian's cultivation base is the same as yours, but he and his 3 personal guards were able to fight against Flood. Even if they weren't a match for Flood in the end, they had no problem escaping with their lives. But what about you and your demon guard? What happened to you? They're all gone. I shouldn't have brought this up to make you sad, but you've already learned a painful lesson. Why do you want to repeat it? Do you want to experience the pain again? Or do you want Xiao Duo's little Nian to follow in the footsteps of the demon guards? Zhuo Zhanglu had expected better from him. Second brother, you were the first one to start a family among us. You were even earlier than Xingqian. But when will you become more mature? The more time we have, the more we have to squeeze out all of our people's potential. We have to let them experience the world, let them experience life and death. Only in this way can they survive in the future. Even in the future, in a life and death crisis, they have to break through themselves. Although Xiao Duo is now at the mystic returning realm and can be called a genius among geniuses, he's still only at the mystic returning realm. If he has something to rely on from now on, he knows that his grandfather is the demon ancestor and his father is the minister. What if he becomes a salted fish? Then, with his cultivation base, when the major clans arrive, who can he beat? How many days can he fight for? Are you sure he can survive the continuous war afterward? Or are you going to tie your grandson to your belt and watch over him in the 100-clan battlefield in the future? Even if you don't find it shameful, we don't find it shameful, and Xiao Duo doesn't find it shameful, what do you want me to say about you? Zhuo Zhanglu's long-winded speech was heartfelt and heartfelt. He had spoken it to his heart's content. He had even said that he would shed tears and hang his head to the heavens. He had been scolded to the point that he was speechless and had no words to respond to it. He didn't feel shameful, but he was awakened by the scolding. He was more awake than ever. He asked himself, if he had watched Zhuo and Zhuo Xiaoyan grow up, would these two children be as outstanding as they are now? The aptitude of these two children, each of them could surpass the geniuses of the 3 continents by God knows how many levels. Could it be? If he didn't do anything now, wouldn't he be creating another demon guard's tragedy? But what do we do now? Now that he already knows, he's implicitly begging me to help him with this matter. What do you want me to do? Lei Changtian was at a loss. You say 1,000 times, but the children already know too much. What can I do? I'm also very helpless, okay? Zhuo Changlu's nose was crooked. What to do? You ask me what to do. You don't even know how to say no? Do you know how to reject him? I'm asking you, do you know how to? Then, what's the use of me as a grandfather? Lei Changtian felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. What do you think? What's the use of you as a grandfather? Zhuo Changlu sneered from his nostrils. The veins on Lei Changtian's forehead throbbed violently. He took a deep breath fiercely. He felt that he had been completely enraged. How could you mock people like that? Even if you're right, so what? Therefore, he took a deep breath, forced himself to control himself, and said humbly, "Then we'll do as you say." Chapter 1137. But even if we reject him, he will still find out. Lei Changtian had a new question. Zhuo Changlu said without hesitation, what you need to do now is to reject him and stop helping him. You don't have to worry about anything else. Anyway, it's his teacher's revenge and his principal's revenge. If he can bear it, then don't take revenge. What's the big deal? We definitely won't help him anyway. He can do whatever he wants with this revenge. Won't that make the child feel resentful? Are you stupid? Do you not have a brain, or is there mold in your brain? Did I tell you so much just now for nothing? You didn't take it to heart at all. It's better for him to feel resentful now than to suffer a big loss on the battlefield in the future. As his elders, if we don't bear his resentment, who else can bear it? Do you really want the child to use his own flesh and blood to prove his mistake today? Lei Changtian was moved. Boss, you're right. I understand. It's good that you understand. Let go and let him do it himself. The more Lei Changtian thought about it, the more he felt that Zhuo Changlu was right. He couldn't help but sigh. Boss, you're right. Being a parent isn't just about raising a child. It requires scheming, wisdom, and means. None of them can be missing. Not only do you have to play tricks with the enemy, but you also have to play tricks with your own child for the sake of the child's growth. This is also knowledge. There's a lot of knowledge in this. Lei Changtian sighed. Fortunately, Rainy grew up with you. If she grew up with me, I don't know what she would be like. But thank you. Cough, cough, cough. Zhuo Changlu couldn't help but cough a few times. His face darkened and he said, if you don't have anything else to say, then I'll hang up. Although Lei Changtian was thanking him, Zhuo Changlu still felt guilty in his heart. Something's not right. My father-in-law sincerely thanked me for helping him raise his daughter, my wife. This mattered as Zhuo Changlu put the phone in his pocket, shook his head, and sighed. Why are you sighing over there? Wu Yuding had come out at some point, and was looking at him coldly with her bright eyes. Nothing, nothing. Zhuo Changlu was startled. Looking at you, I guess you scolded your second son again? Wu Yuding's pretty face was frosty. Cough, cough. What do you want me to say to you? Even if he's not very sensible most of the time, and his mind isn't clear, he's still my father. Your father-in-law isn't. Wu Yuding said with a dark face, when you reprimand me in the future, can't you leave me some face? You're right, cough, you're right. You reprimand your father-in-law every day as if he's your son. Wu Yuding rolled her eyes. You didn't even scold Xiao Duo like that. Xiao Duo is good because you gave birth to him. Why should I scold him? Zhuo Changlu smiled again and again with a flattering face. Sigh. Wu Yuding felt more and more powerless to complain. Having such a strange father-in-law and son-in-law, as a daughter and as a daughter-in-law. It was really enough. Wu Yuding even dared to bet that such a father-in-law and son-in-law relationship was not only unprecedented, but also had a high chance of it happening in the future. It had never happened before, and it most likely wouldn't happen again in the future. Although in the previous feudal era, from time to time, when the son-in-law was the emperor, the father-in-law would still kneel, but that was the feudal system after all. What's up with these two weirdos in front of me? Thinking of her son and daughter, she sighed. Son and daughter, daughter and son-in-law, mother-in-law and father-in-law. Well, such a family relationship seemed to be rare. My life is so hard. Why am I involved in all of this? Forget it, this is fate. People still have to believe in fate. Wu Yuding said bitterly, "What's the matter? Can you tell me now?" "It's nothing. It's just that his grandfather accidentally exposed his true identity and strength. He flew to the battlefield to help Xiao Duo when he was fighting the enemy, and now Xiao Duo wants to be a salted fish." Zhuo Changlu looked at his wife's face carefully and quietly complained to Lei Chengkun, "Isn't it because of this that I'm angry? And just now he called me and scolded me." "He dared to scold you?" "Yes, he said that we only cared about ourselves and didn't care about the child, so he went to spoil the child. I just lost my temper." Sigh. "What?" Wu Yuding's eyes widened, and then she was furious. "Call me. Is this something a human would do? I'm so angry. He's been muddle-headed for so many years, and he still can't change this old habit." Forget it, forget it." Zhuo Changlu held the phone and hurriedly handed it over. "Don't scold him. After all, he's your father. Leave him some face." "Leave him some face? Then what about my son and daughter? To eliminate hidden dangers, we have to deal with the root. He's getting more and more muddle-headed. I'm so angry." Wu Yuding took the phone and went to the side to make a call that Zhuo Changlu wiped his cold sweat and hurriedly removed the soundproof barrier. He saw the 6 people from the Dao League gossiping. "Brothers, what's wrong?" Snow Taoist asked with concern. They didn't hear the conversation between Zhuo Changlu and his wife, but they still saw Zhuo Changlu's submissive attitude. To them, it was not only refreshing, but also pleasing to the eye. "Nothing," Zhuo Changlu said casually, "it's just that my little brother was a little mischievous. I scolded him." "Oh, which little brother of yours? What does it have to do with you?" Zhuo Changlu squinted. The minister's demeanor was once again elevated, and he was completely different from his previous flattery. They didn't expect the minister to have more than 2 faces. On the other side of the barrier, Wu Yuding was already holding the phone and roaring. After a long time, Zhuo Changlu asked his wife sneakily, "How much did you take?" "I didn't have the nerve to take all of it." "Hey, you're too shy. The treasury is open, and you don't have the nerve to take more? Well, we're allies after all." Zhuo Changlu sighed. "That's fine, as long as you're happy. How much did you take?" "I took 40% at most." 40%? Zhuo Changlu was a little confused. 40% of a warehouse? Cough, 40% of all. Zhuo Changlu sighed deeply. "Let's hurry up and leave." He knew that there were good and bad things in the warehouse. This was inevitable. If Wu Yuding only took 40%, then according to the ratio, it was basically the most valuable thing in the entire Dao League, but Wu Yuding didn't leave a single thing for anyone else. She had completely emptied it. Under such circumstances, if they didn't hurry up and leave, they might that the 2 figures disappeared with a whoosh. A second later, Thunder Taoist rushed out of the clouds. "Brothers, sister-in-law, wait, you're 2. He saw that the front was already filled with clouds, and there was no trace of them. Thunder Taoist sighed deeply. They left. Well, it should be said that they slipped away. Taoist Master Yun rushed out, his face full of anger. "Boss, this is too much. There's not even a blade of grass in my warehouse." "Cough, it doesn't matter. Boss, I have hundreds of thousands of years of." "Narrow-minded," Thunder Taoist said angrily. "Isn't it to fight against the demons? Can your treasures only be used for internal strife?" Taoist Yun lowered his head as soon as the accusation was made. "I hope." "What? Do I need you to say that?" "I'm sorry." Big brother, boss. It's empty. It's empty. A few old Taoists rushed over as fast as lightning. Thunder Taoist frowned and said angrily, "Go back and cultivate." He said in his heart, "Damn it. Only yours is empty?" Is empty too, Shang Jing. Lei Changtian put down his phone exhausted and lay on the bed. He felt weak all over and his limbs were limp, like a pile of mud. Am I still an elder in this family? I'm just a punching bag. Lei Changtian sighed. My status in the family is so low that it makes one's hair stand on end. My grandson and niece ordered me to work. My son-in-law scolded me. My daughter scolded me again. Since ancient times, who could be a father-in-law as sullen as me? Wait until my cultivation surpasses yours. If I can't beat you 8 times a day, I won't be considered human. Lei Zhangtian gritted his teeth and swore an oath. He was imagining himself beating Zhuo Zhanglu to the ground with a slap when his cultivation was higher than his own. Then, he would grab Zhuo Zhanglu's hair and attack him with the Wu Song beating the tiger style. He shook his head and said, "Do you still dare? Do you still dare? Do you still dare?" As he spoke, he waved his hand in the air. After a long time, he let out a long sigh. This is so satisfying. He removed the soundproof barrier. Now that he had received the death order from those two, it would be easy to deal with this little dog. He opened the door and walked out with his hands behind his back. His face was serious. "Grandpa? How is it? When do you want to do it?" "I'm ready." Zhuo Xiaoduo was suddenly energized. "What are you ready for? This won't do. We can't do it according to what you said." Lei Changtian frowned. "Your parents have ordered me not to interfere in your affairs." Zhuo Xiaoduo was stunned. There was such a thing? "Grandpa, you helping me? What does it have to do with my parents? Do you think my parents can control you?" The muscles on Lei Zhangtian's face twitched. "How can they control me?" "Then you. I can't interfere in your affairs." Lei Changtian refused. Looking at Zhuo Xiaoduo's astonished face, a refreshing feeling rose in his heart. Chapter 1138. Rejection turned out to be such a satisfying thing that Zhuo Xiaoduo and Zhuo Xiaonian looked at each other. This didn't seem quite right. They couldn't help but think of what they were most concerned about. Their parents' identities. Now that Grandpa had appeared, their parents' identities were obvious. Although they couldn't find out, their surname was Zhuo. How many people with the surname Zhuo in the world were worthy of the demon ancestor's daughter? Was there a need to ask? My father must be the son or grandson of the Sky Patrol Minister. There was no doubt about that. Zhuo Xiaoduo rolled his eyes and said, "Grandpa, if you're the demon ancestor, then what are my parents' identities? Why don't you tell us?" Lei Changtian snorted and said, "You'll have to ask your parents yourself. What are their identities? No matter what their identities are, they're still your parents, and also my daughter's son-in-law. This will never change." Zhuo Xiaoduo rolled his eyes and said, "Grandpa, you're acting like you're keeping a big secret from us. Do you think we won't know if you don't tell us?" Lei Changtian was stunned. "What do you know?" "We know a lot." Zhuo Xiaoduo said proudly, "Grandpa, you're the demon ancestor whose name shakes the entire continent. As for the demon ancestor's daughter and son-in-law, isn't it obvious? Grandpa, you're still keeping this a secret." "Ha." Zhuo Xiaonian also pursed her lips and laughed. "That's right. Grandpa is so funny." Zhuo Xiaoduo wasn't the only one who thought of it. Zhuo Xiaonian also thought of it. Both of them were very amused. Grandpa was still keeping this a secret. "Ha." Lei Changtian crossed his legs and said, "Then what do you know?" "Ha." Zhuo Xiaoduo didn't know whether to laugh or cry and said, Grandpa, you're really keeping this a secret? At this time, who doesn't know that my father is the Sky Patrol Minister?" Lei Changtian's shock was no small matter. He suddenly stood up from his chair and said in a flabbergasted manner, "You guys already knew that your father was the heaven-inspecting minister?" Zhuo Xiaonian's pretty eyes suddenly widened. Zhuo Xiaoduo sat down on the ground. His face was pale, and his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. "What? My father is the heaven-inspecting minister? Lei Changtian was dumbstruck. What was the meaning of this? What kind of reaction is this? You've already guessed it, so why are you so shocked? High up in the sky, Bai Yun Duo covered her face. She couldn't bear to listen or watch. This was a wooden club. Compared to the furious Bai Yun Duo, Lei Changtian was dumbfounded. It turned out that these two guys didn't even know who their parents were. But I exposed them with a single sentence. Looking at the two people who were dumbstruck, Lei Changtian had an inexplicable urge to bang his head against the wall. It's over. I've exposed my biggest secret. How can I have a good time? Wouldn't it be better if I ended my own life? You two look quite smart, but how can you not even guess such a small thing? Are you deliberately trying to trick me? Didn't you just say that everyone knows that your father is the heaven-inspecting minister? This means that you clearly know. Lei Changtian was unwilling to die just like that. He wanted to get to the bottom of this. Even when he was about to die, he wanted to drag someone down with him, even if it was his own grandson. He had never met such a deceitful junior. At this time, Zhuoxiao Duo also felt that his thoughts had been scattered into thousands of fireworks in the starry sky by this sudden explosive information. He muttered, "What I want to say is, who doesn't know if my father is the son or grandson of the heaven-inspecting minister? I just want to ask you to tell me if my father is the son or grandson of the heaven-inspecting minister. According to reason, this should be more logical." Zhuoxiaonian leaned on Zhuoxiao Duo in a daze. She could only nod her head vigorously. Her expression was dull. I think so too. You couldn't blame them for not thinking of this. Other than someone with a god's perspective, perhaps no one would dare to think this way. Including all of you who are reading now. With a healthy and well-to-do life, who would dare to think that their parents were originally the richest people in the world and hid their identities? That was something that no one would ever think of. Zhuoxiaonian said in a dreamlike tone. The demon ancestor is recognized by the continent as one of the top 3 astral souls of the heaven-inspecting minister and Emperor Zhai Xing. How many clans are qualified to be related to the demon ancestor by marriage? Naturally, there aren't many. However, our surname is Zhua, the same surname as the minister. Considering that the demon ancestor and the minister were people of the same era, it is only natural to infer that we should be related to the minister. This logic is the most wrong inference. It has been unanimously recognized by both of us. That is, my father is the minister's junior. But now you are telling us. Oh my God. Zhuoxiaonian felt that she was sleepwalking. Zhuoxiao Duo felt that he was dreaming in the middle of an exploding starry sky. His whole body was floating. Huge fireworks were shooting up in his pitiful little head. His mind was mottled with dreams, bright and blurry, that even his spine felt weak. This was a dream. But this dream was so beautiful that it was hard to bear. Oh, cake seller, my father is the heaven-inspecting minister. I'll be damned, great master. What the hell? I am the second generation. The second generation. Second generation. Second generation. Zhuoxiao Duo felt dizzy and felt like he was floating. I've always been envious of those second generations. Even in my dreams, I've always wanted to be a second generation. Who would have thought that I'm really a second generation, and the most awesome one at that? Roar. Ha ha. Xiaoduo was drooling. He was like a retard. Lei Changtian felt increasingly powerless. He wished that he could collapse on the ground. His eyes looked into the void, and he unconsciously muttered to himself, "You guys actually think that your father is the son or grandson of the heaven-inspecting minister. And you guys even unanimously agree. This is logical. My God, how can this matter be judged and understood like this? I'm a little confused." Lei Changtian stood up shakily and walked towards the guest room that he had just come out of. I have to think. Carefully think. How could this be? Why is it the most logical? I'm a little dizzy. My eyes are shining. Don't pay attention to me. A soundproof enchantment was immediately formed. After a long time, Zhuoxiao Duo unconsciously turned his head, and his gaze met Zhuoxiaonian beside him. He was completely unfocused. Zhu Xiaonian also turned her little head, and her innocent and dazed eyes met with Zhu Xiaoduo's unfocused gaze. "Oh, cake seller." Zhu Xiaoduo said. "Oh my God." Zhu Xiaonian said. "This is really shocking, this dog. Indeed. Shocking, this cat. Phew." Zhu Xiaoduo let out a long sigh of relief. Phew. Zhu Xiaonian patted his chest and heaved a long sigh of relief, but his heart surged. Both of them felt that their whole body was soft and weak, and they didn't even have the strength to stand up. "Oh my God. It turns out that I'm the most awesome second generation in the world." Zhu Xiaoduo's body was soft like a cooked sweet potato. Moreover, it was a completely boiled sweet potato. His entire body slowly became limp, like a pancake. He collapsed on the ground. He said as if he was dreaming, "Nian Mao." "Yes." Zhu Xiaonian leaned on his side, her delicate body half lying down, and her face was flushed, magnificent and dazzling. Zhu Xiaoduo held Zhu Xiaonian's slender waist and murmured, "Nian Mao. I think we should retire, get married and have children. There's nothing in this world that's worth fighting for anymore." Zhu Xiaonian didn't answer for a long time. "After we have a bunch of children, we'll let our parents choose a few with good aptitude to cultivate. With their skills, it'll be easy to create a few more talents of the continent." Zhu Xiaoduo's eyes shone and he murmured, "Anyway, I don't want to be so tired anymore. I've worked myself to death day after day. Finally, it's the end." Zhu Xiaonian was still in a daze. His intuition was strange, and he felt like he was in a dream. Zhu Xiaoduo squinted his eyes and rubbed Zhu Xiaonian's soft waist. "After working so hard for so many years, I suddenly found out that my father is the richest man in the world. My feelings are so complicated. I don't know if I should be excited, comforted, refreshed, or arrogant. I'm so excited, happy, and scared. So sad. How am I going to spend so much money?" Speaking of complicated feelings, Zhu Xiaonian's feelings were also complicated. Even if it was anyone else, they would feel the same. For example, if the author suddenly told her that her father was actually richer than the richest man in the world, she would probably fucking. Zhu Xiaonian's feelings were unprecedentedly complicated. She thought and thought, but she didn't know what to think. Then, she suddenly felt that something was wrong, that the hand that was originally on her waist had actually quietly moved up to her chest at some unknown time. And was slowly sniffed. With a crisp sound, Zhu Xiaonian's face turned red, and her body went limp. She flew into a rage. "Dogda, do you want to die?" Before he finished speaking, he had already flipped over and pressed down on Puppy to go. What followed was a series of fierce punches. Every punch landed on flesh, and it was nothing difficult. Zhu Xiaoduo loudly begged for mercy and screamed. He also spouted a lot of nonsense in an attempt to persuade Zhu Xiaonian, but Zhu Xiaonian completely ignored him and only focused on beating Xiaoduo. She couldn't even be bothered to be shy now. "Dogda, die." Chapter 1139. Zhu Xiaoduo couldn't take it anymore and fought back. So that the scene became chaotic. But it was good. If they didn't go crazy, they wouldn't know how to vent the countless inexplicable emotions that had accumulated in their hearts. Bang bang bang. Lei Zhangtian sat in his room in a daze. He couldn't speak of his annoyance, he couldn't speak of his regret. "I'm so stupid, really. I've been smart all my life, but I was tricked by 2 kids. I really failed miserably at such an easy task." In the air, Bai Yunduo looked up at the sky, speechless. "How could you say that you've been smart all your life? I can understand all the mistakes you've made today, but I really can't agree with what you've just said." After a long time, Zhu Xiaoduo finally stopped, gasping for breath. "It seems that Grandpa won't help us anymore." Zhu Xiaoduo sighed. "That seems to be the case." Zhu Xiaonian sighed as well. After knowing the identity of their parents, Zhu Xiaoduo and Zhu Xiaonian knew that they had to do it themselves. Last time, their father went to the ancestral Dragon High School and dealt with the matter, then left. Now that they thought about it carefully, The situation was very clear. But with Grandpa's support, I feel that the Wang family is just a small dot that can be crushed with a finger at any time. Even if there's the suspicious family, it's not enough to reach the apex. I can destroy it with a raise of my hand. But now that Grandpa hasn't done anything, I feel that the Wang family has become a giant again. With our cultivation and strength, we can't do anything at all. Then what should we do now? Aren't I just thinking about it? My head hurts. I clearly have an unimaginable amount of wealth, so much savings, and it's within reach, but I'm not allowed to use it. What do you think this is? Zhuoxiao Duo sighed. Aren't they deliberately making things difficult for me? He looked at Zhuoxiaonian and hurriedly added, and deliberately making things difficult for Zhuoxiaonian? This is too much. Don't think about it. By the way, didn't you say that you're going to visit the Liu family? When are you going? We'll talk about it later, Zhuoxiao Duo said pitifully. I'm weak now. I was scared to death by my parents. Sigh, I'm the same. Zhuoxiao Duo sighed. It's really strange. Li Chenglong, Long Yuxing Yumoyan, and Li Chengming, these bastards, I don't know where they went to train. I can't get through to their phones, and they're not replying to my messages. It's fine if we can't get through to one of them, but now we can't get through to all of them. Even Principal Yi and Teacher Wen don't know where these bastards went. It's really strange. It's really annoying. If only a few of them could come to help, even if they're just depressed with us. But we can't find them. It's really strange. Zhuoxiao Duo scratched his head. His hair that he had just used his vitality to make it look like a chicken's nest. Melancholy. At the same time, at the far north of Shangjing, in a quiet and nameless valley, that the few people that made Zhuoxiao Duo feel melancholy were gathered here. Not only were they all here, but there were even a few more. This group of people included Li Chenglong, Xiang Chong, Xiang Bing, Long Yuxing, Wan Li Xiu, Yu Moyan, Li Changming, Gao Qiao, Dugin, Zhen Piapiao, Yuyin, and Pai Yibao. Except for Pai Yibao, the others were all covered in blood. They surrounded a ferocious demon beast and were fighting fiercely. In the sky, Pai Yibao was floating there, but he didn't have the slightest sense of existence. No one noticed him, whether it was the people or the demon beast. Even Li Chenglong, the leader of the battle formation who arranged for him to stay outside, didn't notice his position at the moment. His sense of existence was really too weak. During this period of time, Pai Yibao's presence had become so low that it made people's hair stand on end. To give a direct example, everyone had been here for such a long time, but every time it was time for a meal, no one would think of calling Pai Yibao. It was only when Li Chenglong habitually called his name and saw Pai Yibao's name tag in his hand that he would remember that there was another person in the group, and this name tag was specially made by Pai Yibao for fear that he would forget about him. Pai Yibao stood in the sky and waved his hand. A long bow appeared in his hand. It was a long bow with a strange shape and an indescribable sense of solemnity. However, the strange shape wasn't the most eye-catching thing about this bow. The most special and unique thing about this bow was that it didn't have a bowstring. In other words, this was a bow without a bowstring. Pai Yibao used his hands to condense qi, and the surging qi of heaven and earth gathered rapidly. Like 100 rivers converging into the sea, a whale swallowing the sea, the qi of heaven and earth poured into the longbow. After a while, the longbow gradually changed. A faint light flashed on both ends of the bowstring. Pai Yibao held the bow with one hand and an arrow with the other. He suddenly pulled it back. In an instant, an arrow that looked like a ray of light appeared in his hand and on the bow. Then, an invisible string appeared on the bowstring. This invisible string, as Pai Yibao poured all his cultivation and a huge amount of qi of heaven and earth into the bow, became more and more full. The light flashed and the heaven and earth were shocked. The light arrow became more and more solid. Finally, the bow was like a full moon, ready to be released. Finally, the light arrow completely solidified. A ray of red light bloomed on the body of the arrow and flowed continuously on the arrow. At this moment, Pai Yibao had poured all his cultivation into this arrow. He didn't even hold anything back for himself. Swoosh! Pai Yibao's gaze sharpened and he suddenly let go. A ray of light, as if it wanted to split the heaven and earth in half, broke through layer after layer of black space barriers and broke through the air. This arrow was too fast and too swift. It didn't even make any sound. This arrow seemed to have transcended the difference between time and space. It was faster than flowing light. In a flash, it had already hit its target. Their target was a monster that Li Chenglong and the other 11 people were besieging with all their might. It was a monster with 2 heads, 8 arms, 6 tails. Yes, no, it originally had 3 heads. However, one of the heads had already been chopped off. This monster was a very strange demon king. Its body was like a lion, but its head was like a wolf. However, it had a horn like a flood dragon. Its tail was like a fox. Its combat power was unprecedentedly strong. During this period of confrontation and battle, Li Chenglong and the others could be said to have suffered greatly. In the beginning, Long Yuxing and Wan Lixiu came to the nearby valley and found that there was an area covered by a strange array. They broke the seal and went inside to explore. Finally, they found a heart-cleansing fruit growing in the innermost position. Heart-cleansing fruit was a legendary treasure. It took 500 years to sprout and grow, 5,000 years to become a tree, another 500 years to bloom, another 500 years to bear fruit. After that, the fruit would mature after another 3,000 years. After 10,000 years, there were only 3 fruits. However, if these 3 fruits were not picked, they would fall to the ground and become the foundation of the heart-cleansing fruit tree. After 10,000 years, it could bear 9 heart-cleansing fruit trees. If it was still not picked by someone, after another 10,000 years, that is, after 30,000 years, the heart-cleansing fruit tree would bear 18 heart-cleansing fruit trees. The heart-cleansing fruit tree that Long Yuxing and Wan Lixiu found had 18 heart-cleansing fruit trees that were about to mature. That was to say, this heart-cleansing fruit tree was a big treasure that had been growing for 30,000 years. This kind of spiritual fruit, not to mention eating one, just by smelling the fragrance for a long time could achieve the effect of cleansing the meridians and marrow. It could even be used multiple times to consolidate the foundation of martial arts again and again. There was no after effect at all. If it was eaten directly, the effect was even more amazing. Even if an ordinary person ate this fruit, his body would transform into an innate spiritual body in a very short time. He would become the best and most talented martial artist. With the continuous effect of the medicine, the martial artist could be promoted to a martial master after suppressing the real essence for at least 9 times. Then, he would break through all the way until the effect of the heart-cleansing fruit tree was completely exerted. A 30,000-year-old heart-cleansing fruit tree was enough to make a person with poor aptitude break through all the way from an ordinary person to the most talented peak of transformation cloud. Therefore, this heart-cleansing fruit tree was also called One Step to Heaven fruit in the legends. After Long Yuxing found this heart-cleansing fruit tree, he also found the guardian monster at the same time. This was reasonable. Besides such spiritual trees and spiritual fruits, there were always guardian monsters who coveted them and regarded them as their belongings. Long Yuxing and Wan Lixiu knew that with the strength of the 2 of them, it was absolutely impossible to take down this monster at the Demon King level. Naturally, they informed Li Chenglong immediately. Li Chenglong was shocked when he heard the news. He repeatedly told the 2 of them not to act rashly. Then he urgently called all the others from all directions and rushed to the site of the incident at night. Until all the people gathered, they began to launch a joint attack. Although they had already planned before taking action, the strength of this unknown demonic beast was unexpectedly strong. It was many times stronger than ordinary demonic beasts of the demonic king realm. More than a dozen people used all their skills, but the joint attack didn't have any effect. Instead, they were on the verge of being wiped out several times. Finally, Li Chenglong carefully observed the demonic beast's attack range and its moves, and explored a feasible strategy to deal with the demonic beast in actual combat. After several days of fierce fighting, everyone paid the price of serious injuries several times before they finally dealt a heavy blow to the demonic beast. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.